With everything that I mentioned so far about the games, you guys can probably see just how major Five Nights at Freddy's was in the grand scheme of horror. So much so that even after the original era of games, the fans couldn't get enough of the animatronics and everything surrounding the House of Freddy. And as I mentioned before, Scott had already ventured into the world of literature by making a couple of books surrounding the games, the quality of which varies. From all of this, however, there is one thing I failed to mention, an industry that leaped at the first opportunity to milk the franchise for all it's worth. Yes, you couldn't have a successful horror franchise without the bigwigs at Hollywood catching a whiff of it. And when they did, it started a huge scrap fight between studios wanting the free money that would come with a big screen adaptation of the games. After a short 1v1 on Dust 2, Warner Bros. Came out victorious and secured the film rights to Five Nights at Freddy's in 2015, with Gil Kenan set to direct a couple of months later. Throughout his career, Kenan has had hits and misses, with his most notable outings being Monster House and the 2015 remake of Poltergeist. Wait for it. So the franchise was in pretty good hands for the most part, but as everyone knows and some fans are about to find out, making a movie about video games, especially these video games, it's just a bit difficult. Fast forward to 2 years later on the timeline, and a lot of things changed. Scott had experienced the might of the terrible film industry and got shifted back to square one. But not to worry, things are looking great because Scott has found a new team to bring his vision to life. Oh no, oh no, not Jason. No! Actually, that makes a lot of sense. So Scott made a Twitter account, which already is kind of a red flag for being honest here, and teased that Blumhouse Productions will be taking over production duties for the film, which basically meant that the film was going to be made on a budget of 20 Bolivar. This also meant that Gil Kenan was yoinked off the film, but he was eventually replaced with Chris Columbus, the director of a couple of good films about wizards and children being left alone. Then the worst things you're ever going to see in your life. So good hands! However, those hands will be dealt even worse cards in the years to follow, as what happened is something filmgoers like to call development hell. Because of how hands-on Scott is with the development of the film, it's gone through screenplay after screenplay after screenplay, juggling several different stories, but none of them hitting the right mark over the next several years, until he finally settled with the shooting script in November of 2020. On Reddit, he ended up detailing the scripts that got scrapped and the reasons why. One of the first scrapped scripts was a group of teenage troublemakers breaking into Freddy's, and the story issues were apparently blatant, with the story ending with the protagonist in a secret underground animatronic factory that was designing robots for the government. You know, I'd actually pay to watch that. Sounds metal as hell. Anyway, filming was supposed to start around spring 2021, got scrapped. And then other things happened and things got kind of weird. More on that later. And for a long while, the movie seemed like it was going to remain in development hell. But in 2022, Blumhouse and Scott resurfaced, with Emma Tammy being chosen to direct the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. And even more interesting news would drop, as it was announced that the Jim Henson Creature Shop would be working on the animatronics for the movie, which was a very big deal. It saved the movie from potentially getting the Thing 2011 treatment, where everything is covered with CGI. Following this announcement, as well as the news that Josh Hutcherson and Matthew Lillard were cast in the movie, filming went pretty smooth actually, and the first trailer was dropped in June. The first reactions were excitement across the board because the movie that had been in dev hell for over half a decade was finally coming out. But there were a few people unsure about the red eyes displayed in the trailer. This skepticism started to wane the more marketing the movie got, with trailers, posters, and appearances at conventions. They even went and sold pizza slices at EGX London. I tried some. It was okay. But the movie's release date was confirmed to be October 27th, 2023. Now, I know you guys are probably expecting me to go in a lot of detail about the movie now, but I can actually do you one better. Universal were kind enough to invite me and a couple of YouTubers to an early premiere of the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, and I reviewed it literally the night I watched it. So if you want to know my thoughts on the movie in some form of detail, you can watch it in the description and it will show up in the top right corner. All I will say is that the movie turned out to be quite successful. While it may not have been a masterpiece, just seeing the animatronics in the big screen finally was enough for a lot of people, and it quickly became Blumhouse's most successful movie, spurring them to start production on a sequel, which as of this video releasing, should be out in cinemas now. But now I've dealt with some of the other adaptations of FNAF on the big screen, let's return to the games and talk about the big game changer in the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise after the ending of Pizzeria Simulator. But before we get into that, I got something I need to tell you. I got a sponsor! Anyway, budgeting is very annoying. There comes a time where you need to think about where your money is going, and in order to do that, you need to start thinking about spreadsheet! Okay, I get it. I'm a kaiju virus, I'm in a PC, I know this stuff. But if you use Excel for your daily work, I have no choice but to salute you. You are God's strongest soldier. Are subscriptions giving you a ridiculous wedgie? Well, look no further than Rocket Money. Rocket Money is an easy-to-use, all-in-one finance app that lets you cancel subscriptions, lower bills, and manage your money better. These videos are very expensive to make. It might not show, but I've spent a lot of money making what you see on the screen right now. Rocket Money makes budgeting yourself so much easier. You can create a customized budget in seconds with the app showing you where your money is going at all times. Rent, travel, bills, shopping. The app's got you covered. You'll also get a notification if a charge is incoming so you avoid falling into overdraft. Sometimes I subscribe to services that I think I need, then I forget they ever exist for about 8 months before realizing they've been draining my finances. Rocket Money will find and identify all of them. Found one you don't like? Well, with just a few taps, bang, bang, bang. You're now saving more money. I'm a kaiju virus content creator. Saving money is a foreign concept to me. Rocket Money can automate your saving by determining the best time to save your dosh so you reach your goals faster. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code on the screen right here to get started for free. And unlock even more features with premium today. Rocketmoney.com/staff. And I'll see you all later. Now scrap, enjoy the rest of the video. Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted was released on May 28th, 2019, and this game is wildly different to every single FNAF game so far. The first difference is that it's not developed by Scott himself. After developing all the games so far, this is the first mainline Five Nights at Freddy's game that wasn't solo developed by Cawthon. Instead, he hired a brand new team to oversee the development of the games that went by the name of Steel Wall Studios. And these developers were going to take the animatronics to a place no one has ever gone. Right in front of your face, because this game was made exclusively for virtual reality. Initially marketed during PlayStation's State of Play event, this new installment of the FNAF franchise was going to take the janky, lack of anti-aliasing looking offices and run them through a blender manufactured by Epic Games, as the franchise received the hyper-realistic treatment. And it did so in a way that sets this game really far apart from the originals. This game is absolutely cursed. If you thought that your heart was going to get attacked while playing the original games, now you're greeted with your worst nightmare ever. Actually having to stand around and push buttons for hours on end while preventing the animatronics from entering the room. If ever there was a game that suited the medium of VR the most, Five Nights at Freddy's is one of them, and I must admit, I was a little skeptical as to how Steelwall were going to translate already existing mechanics into this game, but I think they did so pretty well. So let's get right. Help Wanted is pretty much an RTX upgrade of almost all the FNAF games up until this point, with the developers recreating all of the games and their many offices and mechanics. Upon opening the game for the very first time though, you are sent on a small exhibition ride in which a familiar voice returns.
Welcome to the Freddy Fazbear Virtual Experience. Fazbear Entertainment is excited to join the digital age, and what better way to do that than with an edge-of-your-seat virtual reality experience.
This game really leans into the self-aware humor by claiming that the works of all the Five Nights at Freddy's games so far have been lies, slander, or fiction, and even pokes fun at Scott himself for conjuring up the franchise to begin with. The intention of this VR game, according to Hand Units, is quite literally a meta-fictional goal. Yeah, I used the right word. Fazbear Entertainment has compiled all the experiences of previous FNAF entries, and you're about to enjoy them, but hang on a second, what's this tape doing on the rails? Alright there. It's a health and safety violation, and it's clear that this company hasn't learned from their past mistakes. Let's pick it up and ensure no one gets hurt by this tape. Oh, Nelly. I'll get into the significance of these tapes a little later, but finally you're allowed in the restaurant, where you can look through each of the many game modes that Help Wanted has to offer, starting with the original trilogy of games. Although I must mention really quickly that this game also falls under false advertising, because to begin with, there are a maximum of 4 possible nights in the original games instead of the advertised 5. What's actually going on here? Once you load into each night on each game, you're given a set of instructions that are just controls and the standard stuff you get upon playing a VR game. And for those of you who are wondering how this looks to play, I've included a theft cam so you can watch my every move while playing the game. The night begins and oh my Guys, this is rather unsettling. The Click Team games really didn't put into perspective just how scary the offices are in the original games, as due to the janky nature of Click Team Fusion, the offices really felt bigger than they actually are, and this is the first upgrade that Help Wanted has over the original games. The offices are extremely cramped and run down, which works wonders for all the claustrophobes around the world. The free movement around the office in each game recreation also lets you see some hidden details around the place, and puts into perspective how stupid the Night Guard characters were in the original games for taking a job like this for literal pennies. In FNAF 1, you're probably thinking that because you're in VR and you have the freedom to move anywhere, if you have a large enough space in your room, you can exit the office and clock out early to start fights with the animatronics out the back. But the developers thought about this as if you try to move outside the office or even go as far as to stick your head out the corridor to see any incoming animatronics, Foxy senses trouble and makes a beeline directly towards your office, giving you around 1.5 seconds to shut the door or else you get aggressively nuzzled. And believe me, there are a lot of people who probably fell for it. As for the actual gameplay, Steel Wool managed to translate the mechanics from the originals to this game really faithfully, with some added quality of life fixes to the gameplay that just wouldn't work in VR. For example, instead of having a monitor flipped up on your lap like the original, the game actually makes use of the screens on the table to display where all the animatronics are. Because of this, the nights are made significantly easier, as the developers remove the power consumption that comes with checking your monitor in the original FNAF game, as now the cameras are pushable buttons on the desk for your VR fingies. The camera layout is still exactly the same as the original game, but you now have to actually keep tabs on Foxy, as they slightly changed this mechanic from FNAF 1. There is a video highlighting all of the hidden mechanics and code from the original game uploaded by TechWall some time ago that goes into this in more detail, but Foxy's mechanics worked in such a way that by just opening the monitor in FNAF 1, it counts as you checking in on him, which would prevent his progress. In Help Wanted, this is completely thrown out the window, as with the monitor being constantly on, you now have to actually make sure you have an eye on Foxy's camera, because his progress towards that darned corridor will constantly go up. As well as this, Foxy's charge has been slightly altered, as just letting him bang on the door once isn't enough. Now you'll hear these pleasant sounds of Foxy scraping at the door. And should you choose to open the door while these sounds are going on, first and foremost, why would you do that? He's still at the door. He hasn't just teleported away. And secondly, I don't have a second point. Speaking of teleporting and the animatronics themselves, with the move to Unreal Engine, you're now able to see the animatronics move into the positions that you're familiar with in all the games. This is consistent in the original trilogy and most obvious with FNAF 2, where the cramped office space returns with a twist. The animatronics all have full animations to boot. You can now actually see the animatronics walk down the corridor as opposed to just teleport in. Although you can sometimes see the animatronics teleport to their spawn location in the vents if you're fast enough. It's one of the many things the developers added to make the animatronics feel more real and like they're actually there. And the animatronics themselves are terrifying. I mean, it depends on how you feel about them, but you can't deny that the creep factor of them being in VR has been cranked up to 10, as now you get a clear picture as to just how big these robo creatures are. I mean, look at the size of that thing! Seeing them walk across the corridor or even outside the door in VR just hits different compared to sitting in your room with one hand on your mouse and the other somewhere else. I will commend Steel Wool on how well they translated the animatronic designs over to this game. FNAF 2 and FNAF 3 getting a spotlight for me in how well they integrated the amount of multitasking you're forced to do in the game. In RTX FNAF 2, the mechanics from the original game return, such as wearing the mask and winding the music box, which is everyone's favorite mechanic. The blessing of the QOL changes are apparent, as instead of being forced to look at the camera for the puppet to wind the music box, there is now yet another button that you can hold down to ensure that the puppet stays put. However, doing things like wearing the mask will prevent you from pressing the buttons, which will become a much harder challenge in later nights, where you're forced into wearing the mask more and more. You'll soon be thanking your lucky stars that the offices are as cramped as they are, because in later nights where you're forced to move around really quickly and have faster reactions to the animatronic movement, simply leaning over and shutting the doors or turning on the lights is much better than sprinting across the room to push a button on each side. Side note, I do find it funny that the existence of Help Wanted has basically invalidated every animator who made YouTuber-related animations for FNAF by showing how small the offices really are. When it comes to FNAF 3 RTX Edition, there isn't anything I can really say that the game does in terms of QOL changes, but I think that works in its favor. The only thing I'd say against it is just how many buttons you have to keep tabs on in order to survive through the night. And the animations of Springtrap slowly finding his way into your office are extremely well done. But all of what I've said so far is just scratching the surface as to what this game has to offer. So let's go even deeper. Five Nights at Freddy's 4 gets represented in this game, but instead of having its own dedicated mode, Steelwool decided to split the gameplay into two specific game modes, Dark Rooms and Night Terrors. Dark Rooms is just an RTX version of the fun with plush trap minigames from the original game, but the experience is cranked up to 100 due to the fact that it's in VR. The game is simple. Just shine a flashlight on Plush Trap or Nightmare BB on the cross marked on the floor to beat the night, and make sure you listen extremely closely for any sounds that they make in the dark, while ensuring that you don't run out of time in the process. You also have to fend yourself against Funtime Foxy later on in the level, taking cues from Sister Location, in which you have to move from one side of the Funtime auditorium to the other without triggering Foxy. Standard FNAF fare. However, there is an entirely original new level added in the Dark Rooms just for this game, simply titled Plush Baby. This level looks to be inspired by Boogeyman and the original Joy of Creation, where you're greeted with 3 plush babies, and the mission is to shine your flashlight on them to make them disappear. But the room is filled to the brim with small things that are placed to distract you from the task at hand. And obviously, failure to locate the plush babies in time will result in more aggressive headbutting. The game isn't even done with handicapping you, as the flashlight you're given also has limited power, forcing you to use it sparingly. And to make matters worse, you have to do all of this until 6 AM! Night Terrors is a more traditional FNAF 4 facelift, if you will. You're stuck in a bedroom that's slightly more reasonable size, if not for the fact that terrible architecture has bestowed upon this room 2 ways for the animatronics to enter the room. And each minigame within Night Terrors has you beef with a different animatronic from either FNAF 4 or Sister Location, with different handicaps for each one. For example, Funtime Freddy is your standard RTX FNAF 4 fare, as you have to listen for noises at each end of the hallway, and if there's danger nearby, you just have to shut the door until the danger leaves. But Funtime Freddy did not come alone, as sometimes you can just get randomly jump scared by Bon Bon. This jump scare doesn't even end the game, it's literally just there to throw you off. Thanks, prick. In another level, your opponent is Circus Baby, and this one flips the FNAF formula on its head, as you're trapped in the closet while a big baby tries to find you, and if she sees you in the closet, she'll pull you right out and kill you. Sounds like an average Texan household. You'd think that this level would be particularly easy, as you can easily just keep the closet door closed and she'll never be able to get to you. However, the developers again thought about this, as plush babies are in the closet with you and will jump scare you instead if you try to cheat. And speaking of Sister Location, the next 2 game modes are actually my favorites out of the Help Wanted roster, which is a wild statement coming from me. I know I was very vocal against Sister Location's gimmicky nights, but I think having these modes get adapted into VR really benefited them. Parts and Service. The old reliable game mode makes a return in this game, and is definitely one of my favorite game modes in the entire game. Similar to Sister Location, you are very up close and personal with the main 4 animatronics, and your job is to fix them up. Hand Units gives you specific instructions on how to repair each animatronic and diagnose what's wrong with them.
What could possibly go wrong there?
The English language and your own orientation are your own enemies in this game mode, especially with regards to repairing Bonnie, as Hand Units gives you a specific order in which you're supposed to remove Bonnie's parts to be cleaned. This is also where the sheer size of all of the animatronics comes into play, as the tension is heightened because you're working with what essentially is killer robots almost twice your size. Literally any mistake is too much in any of these game modes, and each of them are more difficult as you progress through Parts and Service. Something as small as taking Bonnie's eyes out and putting them in the wrong compartment, or even just missing the compartment and dropping the eye on the floor can land you a jump scare. And it's the tension of being alone in a room with an animatronic that's already proven to be incredibly unpredictable that sells the scare factor of Help Wanted more than anything. Each animatronic has its own different issue that you have to diagnose and fix, from Bonnie's guitar being tuned incorrectly, Foxy suddenly developing Parkinson's, Chica being a disgusting greasy creature, and Freddy deciding to have children for dinner. Fixing the issues at hand is easy enough, but in some cases, something may go wrong in the process, coupled with the same dry delivery from Hand Unit. Depending on the level, the failures can be as small as Chica's cupcake going missing, to Freddy literally about to laser you to death. I also just realized that the iconic nose honk hasn't been encountered yet. Might as well give it a try here. Another side note, the only frustrating thing about the VR nature of the game isn't necessarily the game's fault, but I played Help Wanted on a Valve Index, and the percentage of people who play video games on this device is minuscule compared to the amount of people that got indoctrinated into the cult of the Zuck. So because of this, the hand controls were a little bit wonky in some levels, where you're supposed to have a slow and even pace while placing items somewhere. I don't think the developers are going to patch the game anytime soon, but it kinda sucks I'm locked out of the full experience in some of the game modes because I decided to get the superior VR headset. Thanks, Gaben! You may notice that if you look around the animatronics, you'll also find some coins scattered around the place, and these coins can be used to buy things at the prize counter on the opposite end of the main dining hall where you choose your level. You'll also notice something to your right in the distance that you can't make out just yet, but the more coins you collect, the more noticeable it is. Don't worry about it just yet, we'll get to him later. The final game mode to talk about in Help Wanted also takes cues from Sister Location and Pizzeria Simulator very loosely, in that you're stuck in a vent and your task is simply to repair it. This game mode actually only has 2 levels instead of the 4 advertised in the other night, and that's probably down to the difficulty of being an engineer in a place that's still cursed by the FFCMO. Not to mention the claustrophobia is cranked up to 13. You thought the previous levels were bad? This one gives you absolutely no room to move whatsoever, and you have to repair 3 vents while fending off Mangle, who somehow managed to crawl into the vent. The tasks you're given are pretty rudimentary, such as pressing these buttons and spinning these valves and pressing buttons in a specific order, provided by a game that's different each time. The challenge comes with doing this while listening very carefully for Mangle crawling through any of the vents, similar to Pizzeria Simulator. Your only weapon in this case becomes your headlight, and Mangle seems to be conditioned to really hate being in the light. Apart from that, repair job is pretty simple, which is more that can be said for the next level, where you're facing off against Ennard. Instead of a simple ventilation repair like the previous level, this one's a lot more bullshit hard as it's split into multiple different sections and require you to channel your old Flash game knowledge, as you're supposed to pay really close attention to the way in which you place certain objects in each panel. This specific game mode tries to punish you for the simplest mistakes the most and requires the most hand-eye coordination, unlike the other game modes, as Ennard mixes the frustrating features that Foxy has in a lot of the FNAF games, and the time is also against you. Taking too long or looking at Ennard for too long nets you a jump scare, but at least you can exact your revenge on Ennard by completing the level and sending him straight to the boiler, condemning him to a very hot bath. Now, after completing all of these levels, you're probably expecting there to be a major cutscene or a congratulations piece of paper handed by the corporation for completing the game, or getting fired depending on what exactly you got up to in the game, right? I mean, you played a lot of these game modes and you want to be rewarded for your dedication to the job, right? Well, I want to hit 1 million subscribers this year. We can't all get what we want! Because in the main hall, you must have noticed that there are a lot of buttons that you can press that do random, insane things to alter your gameplay experience, like the big Showtime button, which does nothing? So what's the point of having the button there? Why is this company so bloody incompetent? Never mind that, there's a lever. A lever? Levier? Over there, so let's just pull it and see what happens. Probably another broken feature that doesn't work. Oh no! I'm on drugs now. This mode is called Blacklight mode, and in this mode, every game mode you've played so far is turned on its head. Sometimes literally. The visuals look like someone discovered invisible pens for the very first time, as this mode likes to abuse the ultraviolet nurse of the dining room area. And you're given new variations of each of the levels you've played so far, but with a twist. All of the levels in every game mode has had something changed about them to handicap you and make the game even harder. For example, in the original FNAF RTX remakes, the blacklight versions of the levels are the advertised 5th nights of each of the games. In FNAF 1, everything is grey, and obviously the animatronics are a lot more aggressive in this version, coupled with frequent glitches of the doors and lights, because obviously there weren't enough issues to have to worry about in the game. In the 3rd FNAF RTX edition, the game references the ending to Five Nights at Freddy's 3 by having you play the entire level while everything is getting burnt to a crisp as opposed to just leaving. These changes can range from small aesthetic changes to a complete and utterly different experience to the original level, and this is most notable in the parts and service segments of the game, as the blacklight versions of each level have insane handicaps, such as music and strobe lighting during Bonnie's level to throw you off when you're tuning the guitar, Chica's level having more cockroaches around the place, including some giant cockroaches crawling down the level. Oh my god! No. Freddy's level being much darker and surrounded by static, and Foxy's level being the worst thing ever coded. You guys notice that I really don't like Foxy? After going through and completing all of the blacklight levels, now you'd probably think the game is over and you can finally be free of Help Wanted, but oh dear! You still have one more level to go through, simply titled Pizza Party, and this is where things go a little bit awry. In terms of the story, Pizzeria Simulator had such a perfect ending to the franchise, it would feel incredibly weird to go back on what's happened during that game, especially considering that most, if not all of the loose ends had already been tied up by the final completionist cutscene in that game. But in taking over game-making duties from Scott, Steelwolf Studios, under Scott's supervision at the time, decided to just continue the story after the fact, which never made any sense to me, right? I can understand going back and remastering some of the old games on a new system and introducing some new game modes with the animatronics we're all familiar with. But what I never understood was the decision to continue the story after the fact. I thought this game would work fine on its own as a separate spin-off. Anyways, the story. You may have noticed in the footage I recorded and more that there are some purple glitchy tapes in completely random areas in the game, like tables or bins or even in the opening cutscene on the rail itself. Touching the tape causes it to glitch out of existence, and there are 16 tapes scattered around the game. In order to listen to these tapes, you need to unlock the tape room by yeeting any item at a tape in the prize counter, which will give you access to the room, but only on blacklight mode. It's then that you'll be able to access a room in a void where you can listen to all of the tapes, and the tapes detail a form of malicious code that's been left in the game that wants to escape.
Wait a minute!
Not you, Hack! The girl on these tapes is simply referred to as Tape Girl, who is in no way affiliated with Cassette Man. It's just a coincidence. Tape Girl seems to be a beta tester for this Help Wanted experience, and she hid these tapes in the game in the hope that someone who's inquisitive enough to look through every nook and cranny in the game finds them. What? She goes on to detail things about the way the game works and the true intent of Fazbear Entertainment, which you probably would have guessed from the start.
This game has some kind of malicious code in it that we haven't been able to fully contain or even understand for that matter. We're over budget and out of time. But that's not the reason that we're shutting down. Listen, I have to keep this short so the file size will be small enough to fly under the radar. There are more. They may not be in order.
Help Wanted seems to serve as a soft franchise reboot, in which Fazbear Entertainment want to cover up the many trials and tribulations that plagued the company in the events from the first game to Pizzeria Simulator, and they hired a development studio that had no idea what they were in for to do it. Tape Girl mentions that the malicious code is simply known as the Anomaly, and it's the weird glitchy rabbit that you can somewhat make out as you collect more and more coins. In rare occasions in the tape room, it can also show up directly behind you. Judging by the purple eyes and similar appearance to a certain Spring character, you can probably assume that this anomaly may have something to do with William Afton. He can't keep getting away with this! The whole thing burnt down in Pizzeria Simulator! Can another villain be made? This specific iteration is simply referred to as Glitch Trap. Creative name, I know. And Glitch Trap's intention is to escape the confines of Help Wanted so that he can live again. What am I reading? Once you've collected all of the coins and tapes in the game, you're greeted with a cutscene of Glitch Trap handing you some LSD and starting to hypnotize you. It's just something about those eyes. If you let the cutscene go for too long without doing anything about it, Glitch Trap somehow manages to swap places with you, assimilating you into the Spring Bonnie suit that he was just in, coupled with the screen turning purple, which seemingly does confirm the Afton links in this game. The game actually treats this as a failsafe, as this technically isn't supposed to happen. The last tape details what you're supposed to do in cases like this. On the side of the monitor, there's yet another button that can be pressed, and in normal gameplay, it doesn't really do anything, but as detailed in the final tape, you can essentially kill the anomaly by pressing that button during the cutscene, and everything going back to normal. This does become a little annoying, as upon 100% completion of the game, anytime you try to return to the main menu, this cutscene will always happen, and you're forced to press the button in order to prevent it from constantly occurring. That's just one ending though. The main ending of the game takes place after playing through the final Pizza Party level. Pizza Party is a free roam level. I know! A free roam VR level? Where you can actually explore the environment? I couldn't believe it either until I started playing it! And then I got hit with intense disappointment, because it's probably the loosest form of free roam possible, since it uses teleportation locomotion. The goal of this level is to simply make it to the Pizza Party. On paper, this sounds pretty simple, but you and I both know by now that this franchise really hates the term simple. In order to get to the Pizza Party, you have to go through a maze of different rooms and locations from all the FNAF games, containing references to each one, like Springtrap being in the office in the third FNAF game, Ennard and Funtime Foxy being in the sister locations, and Plushtrap in the hallway from FNAF 4 to name just a couple. It's basically an RTX version of the Scary Maze game, but instead of one jump scare at the end, there are several throughout the maze, and most of them are the fault of you, the player. You have to unlock the path to the end of the maze by first choosing a cake flavor in the room near the start, where Mangle will be waiting for you. If you don't choose chocolate, you have no taste. I said it. Secondly, you have to choose a pizza topping in the room with Chica, but you can't be too indecisive about what topping you want, as taking too long in any of the rooms you land yourself in will reward you most pleasantly with a jump scare. As well as this, sometimes the game really doesn't like you visiting the same places multiple times, as if you do, you also get promptly blessed with another jump scare. But if you end up making it towards the end, you get your pizza and your cake! The celebration is cut almost immediately after, because Glitchtrap motions in a creepy way to join him behind the curtain on the stage. See? Normally the rules of Stranger Danger dictates that you should probably not do that, but the game won't progress without it, so you kind of have to follow him behind the curtain. Hand Unit returns to introduce Freddy Fazbear, but it sounds like he's about to drop a beat.
Fazbear Entertainment would like you to put your hands together for the one, the only.
Oh, that's the end. I can't believe it! We are the Freddy Fazbear this whole time! What a twist! When Help Wanted was released, people flocked to it in droves. To this day, it stands as the best reviewed Five Nights at Freddy's game out of all of them on Metacritic, and from what I've told you so far, I'm pretty sure it's obvious why. Help Wanted was a well-rounded summary of everything people loved about FNAF in a completely new scenario to what was given before, with higher quality models and several quality of life fixes to many grievances players had with previous games. It also helped a lot that with it being in VR, the franchise was back to being scary again, somewhat. Say what you will about the Click Team games that Scott developed, but there's no denying that the scare factor of FNAF was starting to dwindle as the franchise continued. Help Wanted served as a course correction and a reminder as to why people found the franchise terrifying to begin with, as instead of having the screen shield you from any scares or metagaming the hell out of the mechanics, which was par for the course on every FNAF game prior, the VR gameplay forced you to actually put yourself in the mind of the security guards or engineers that were part of the Fazbear system, and do things like press buttons or pull levers that were just hand-waved by just moving your mouse around and clicking in the previous games. The tension that comes with multitasking to prevent the animatronic from entering your room or jump scaring you is heightened by the fact that you have to physically ward them off using the buttons and controls at your disposal. However, there is one big elephant in the room. As the game was released and developed as a VR game, that locked a lot of people out of enjoying the game, as the cost of entry went from just a couple of dosh and a computer that can at least open a Word document to selling your testicles or your breasticles and your kidneys, because now you need a VR headset and a decent PC or console that can run the game. Steelworld took this into account, as they got to work on a non-VR version of Help Wanted, which was released on December 17th, 2019, and eventually released on the Nintendo Switch in 2020. This version of the game allowed people without VR to access the game and experience it for themselves, but it came as a huge caveat. The game is terrible without VR. The movement is now extremely stiff because you're relying on your mouse to move around instead of your own head. And the controls in the game are extremely janky. It's a hard enough challenge to develop a VR game, but when the environment and controls for it were made with the intention of only being experienced in virtual reality, trying to reverse engineer it to work on pancake mode is the equivalent of attempting to unscramble eggs. It's why games like Half-Life Alyx just do not work with a keyboard and mouse. Another baffling design choice by Steelwool actually comes from the engine that Help Wanted is in. There are absolutely no graphic settings in the game that you can edit, the game instead opting to only give you the option of enabling subtitles or deleting your save file. Why? The success of Help Wanted also prompted Steelwool to also develop a DLC for the game, titled Curse of Dreadbear. Curse of Dreadbear was released as a Halloween DLC on October 23rd, and it included new game modes and animatronics for your viewing enjoyment. For example, the lack of nightmare animatronics in the base game was felt by some fans, but I honestly think it was a good idea for Steelwool to not include any of the nightmare animatronics in a base game, because I honestly think that would have been a recipe for a lot of hearts in the mail, taken from the corpses of the dead players that got jump scared hard enough in the game. The nightmare animatronics make a return in Curse of Dreadbear, as well as 3 brand new animatronics made just for the DLC. Dreadbear, which is a cross between Freddy and Frankenstein's monster.
Yes, the monster's not called Frankenstein. We need to
Stop perpetuating this utter woke nonsense online! Grim Foxy, which is a cross between Foxy and the Jack-o'-lantern based animatronics from the Halloween DLC of FNAF 4, and Plushkin, a cross between Plush Baby and yeah, it's just them, but they wear masks of each of the animatronics. The new game modes and levels also have their own twist, differentiating themselves from the base game. But talking about them is going to take absolutely ages, so I'll try and summarize some of them as quickly as possible. Afraid of the Dark is the first game mode and contains 3 very different levels within. The Plushkin level is pretty much almost exactly the same gameplay-wise to the Dark Rooms level involving the plush babies, in which you have to find them in the dark around the pumpkin patch. But your flashlight was developed by Samsung in 2013 and you have a very limited battery life. The Pirate Ride incorporates everyone's favorite VR trope and has you ride on some rails hosted by Captain Foxy. Wow, it's been so long that I completely forgot Foxy's supposed to be a pirate. Silly me. Anyway, you finally get armed with a cannon and you need to shoot targets throughout the ride. You can't not shoot targets though, because if you score below a certain threshold, you get rewarded with... After scoring past the threshold, you get sent to a different section where you have to ward off either Bonnie or Chica by shooting even more targets. Yay! The Corn Maze is a completely new segment of the game where you're now hunted down by Grim Foxy, and the free roam gameplay style returns again as you must escape the maze while avoiding Grim Foxy. If he sees you, then you are, for lack of a better word, screwed. These are a taster as to what kind of vibes you should expect from Curse of Dreadbear, as the levels in question are pretty much an advanced blacklight version of what was in the base game, but with a Halloween sheen over it, and the titular Dreadbear being a major supporting character. Game modes like parts and services return in this DLC, and this time you're performing extreme operation on Dreadbear himself to keep him fully functional. How about that? You have to plug things into specific areas of his brain to ensure things are in full working condition. I know I've mentioned this a lot so far, but the environment and world design in Curse of Dreadbear is extremely well done, with hidden Easter eggs throughout each level. It's kind of cool just how much content Steelwool managed to cram into the game in general. You'll notice this in the reworked versions of the original FNAF 1, featuring the Halloween animatronics in this iteration, and this time there are no doors to protect you from the animatronics arriving, so instead you have to flush the animatronics in the hallway if they get near. All in all, Curse of Dreadbear is a serviceable DLC to Help Wanted, expanding on the gameplay styles and mechanics that Steelwool seemingly perfected on the VR front. Really, there's nothing more to say about the game, except the fact that there's even more story to the game. What is going on? So remember how I talked about Corn Maze some time ago? Well, there is a secret cutscene in the game which you can encounter after collecting a grinning white rabbit mask in the maze. If you go over to the price counter and get a plushie of Glitch Trap, then wear the mask, you get greeted with another cutscene in which someone is speaking.
Yes, I hear you. I know. No. There's no miscommunication. I understand. Yes, I have it. I made it myself. I think you would like it. No one suspects anything. Don't worry. I'll be ready. And I won't let you down. It will be fun.
So it turns out that you, the player, was secretly a mole, and the glitch trap incident was an attack from the inside of Fazbear Entertainment by a weird follower of William Afton. What are we doing here, man? Why? We really should have just ended it at Pizzeria Simulator. Why are Steelwall making this so complicated? Tell me! After all of that, Help Wanted is finally complete, and now we can move on to the big one. The game that everyone was waiting for me to talk about since the announcement. The game that I have very strong feelings about and prompted me to start this entire journey in the first place. It's taken us so long to get to this point, but at least we're finally there. Wait, what the hell is this? In our journey so far, we've seen the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise go through thick and thin and so many visual mediums it really isn't funny anymore. But there is one device that we haven't yet delved into that most of you guys are probably watching this video on. Telephones! Whoa! You know, the Genshins and the Angry Birds and the Badlands. Obviously, with how big the FNAF franchise has gotten, it's kind of weird we hadn't had a mobile game developed from it. Okay, yes, I know there were mobile ports of the original games, but that's not the point I'm trying to make here. I'm talking about a mainline game released exclusively for your Motorola's. I mean, the mobile game market is the biggest gaming market in the world because there's so many people that are willing to empty their savings account for anime boys on their OnePlus phones. So obviously, a FNAF game would be made exclusively for such devices, and in late 2019, we got one. Five Nights at Freddy's Special Delivery was released on November 25th for iOS and Android, and this game tried something new with the franchise by using a gimmick that the 3DS used several years ago. Augmented reality! Now you can experience the animatronics in your actual room. Wait, no, that came out wrong. Upon opening the game for the very first time, it instantly commits the biggest sin for YouTube viewers and Twitch streamers. The game is portrait, and you cannot rotate your phone to have it play landscape. So because I've already spent too much on this video and all of my phones are really thin, you're gonna get a mixture of my gameplay and other people's YouTube videos because it's really fun to watch them spinning around pretending to be scared of the game. And yes, I said spinning. This game is kind of a mixture of Pokemon Go and Sister Location, as the gameplay loop is pretty simple. Fazbear Entertainment, in yet another revolutionary twist in the tale, have released a brand new service where lucky users can get their favorite animatronics delivered to their homes on demand. What could possibly go wrong there? Everything can go wrong. Everything did go wrong. You already know how it works at this point. Instead of doing what they're supposed to do, the animatronics just attack the user instead. Who would have foreseen this? I certainly wouldn't have. So now your job in the game is to defend yourself from some animatronics at launch using weapons at your disposal. Mainly your phone. You may have already noticed this when I showed you the icon, but the developers in their journey to give you an authentic RTX experience went a little bit overboard with applying some specular properties to the animatronics, because now they all look like they've covered themselves in oil. Onto the game itself, and it looks like we've been given a brand new animatronic that's going to be our new best friend. Freddy Fazbear's on his way. Freddy Fazbear's on his way! Oh my god, they're not joking! Freddy's heading directly towards my location. I don't like this. Can I get a refund? So now Freddy has found our location. We get to the actual meat of the game, the nitty-gritty, if you will. First and foremost, the game needs access to your camera. Nice try, FBI. I ain't falling for your tricks this time. So I'm at the location right now. And they said that I'd meet Freddy here. And I was told to bring my camera with me. I don't know why we're supposed to meet in the forest, but I know bears and forests mix well together. I don't understand why we're supposed to meet in a... No idea why we're supposed to meet in the forest, but what is that? What is this? Who the fuck wrote this? Why did they put it in a... Why did they put this in a forest? Alright, I think this is the main location that Freddy's at. What the fuck is that? They promised me a free animatronic. Why did I believe them? Help? What do they mean by help? What's actually going on? Okay, this is fine. Okay, maybe this is it. Let's go. That was really dark. So the actual gameplay involves you trying to locate the animatronic within your household or wherever you are. The way in which you do this is simply just spinning around with your camera until your phone screen emits some static. Because for some reason, the animatronics now have cloaking devices on them. Okay, so you can afford cloaking devices for your animatronics, but you can't afford to have your offices run on decent battery. Who the fuck is your financial advisor? Since the animatronics are all hidden from you, you have to rely on your flashlight and your phone camera going static when you're near to an animatronic. One thing I will commend the game on is the realistic portrayal of a phone's battery if you use a flashlight, because the battery gets depleted extremely quickly, forcing you to be very careful when using it to find an animatronic. When an animatronic starts charging towards you, you then are given an option to issue a controlled shock, similar to Sister Location. This controlled shock does have a cooldown though, so you can't just cheat and shock the animatronics infinitely. Do this enough and you eventually capture the animatronic, which will then be stored in your Pokédex. And then... yeah, that's it. That's the game. What are you expecting? As you continue playing the game, you will notice that special delivery is really nothing special in the grand scheme of things. The other mechanic in the game involves you finding remnants around your location. There are two types of remnants in the game, light and shadowy, and you need to find and collect the light remnants without collecting too many shadowy ones. Obviously, if you end up collecting shadowy remnants, your screen will get distorted and you will be greeted by RWQFSFAS, also known as Shadow Bunny. If you don't dispel him in time, you end up getting jump scared. These remnants can be used in the animatronic workshop in the game to enhance said animatronic's abilities. Speaking of animatronics, some animatronics have different mechanics to others. Most of them rely on the same controlled shock, but there's also an extra mechanic you need to be wary of depending on the animatronic in question. For example, after playing through the game enough and reaching level 5, there will be some cases where the animatronic will start twitching right in front of you. You'd think that since you can see the animatronic in question, you should electrocute them, yes? 9. What you're actually supposed to do is pay close attention to the animatronic's eye color, which will clue you in on what to do. If their eyes are red, they're about to laser you and explode your fucking... If their eyes are white, you have to do the opposite, and the game sometimes screws with you by having their eyes start at white, then move to red, giving you literal seconds to react to look away from the animatronic. As well as this, if you face the toy animatronics at any point, you also have to put on the Freddy Fazbear mask from the second game to ward them off. With all this being said, special delivery as a mainline FNAF game was definitely a game. So when FNAF SD was released, everyone hated it. And from what I've said so far, you'll be incredibly confused. It looks like your standard run-of-the-mill mobile game. It has an AR gimmick to it. What's the big deal? Why did people hate it so much? That's because I haven't told you about everything else surrounding the game. Mainly the monetization, but mostly everything else. Being a mobile game, the one thing developers want is your money, and this game is no different. This game offers a multiplayer aspect, and the way in which it works is that there's a mode in the game's workshop called Deploy. No, you're not deploying Freddy Fazbear to the front lines. Don't get too excited now, settle down. You can use the animatronics you've captured to customize a brand new and improved one, or send an animatronic you already own to your friends. That is, if you have friends that also play the game. You can customize how aggressive and powerful your animatronic is as you keep playing playing the game, and you can make the most OP version of Toy Chica imaginable to send to someone else over the internet. If your victim that's disguised as a friend gets jump scared by your animatronic, you receive special parts, which sounds fun, right? Until you realize that you'll be dealt a terrible hand if you're friends with a YouTuber or someone who has a lot of money to spare. Because as a mobile game, it has an in-game store, where you can pay to win. Most of the items in the store can be bought with Faz coins, which you can earn by playing through the game as normal. Or you can drop some cash in the store to exchange with some Faz coins, from just $5 all the way to and they really try their hardest to make the game enticing for people who love spending money on things that they won't need. What? You can use your Faz coins to buy lures, which will guarantee you a delivery of the animatronic of your choice. I do find it funny that the developers priced Toy Chica's lure much higher than any of the other animatronics in the store. For no reason in particular. You can also use Faz coins to buy extra batteries. In the regular game, should your battery power hit critical levels, you can use the extra batteries to restore your flashlight power to a more manageable level. Otherwise, you get a whole face of animatronic. And let's not forget about the many skins the game has. There are loads of animatronics in the franchise, so the developers decided to add even more versions of the same animatronic? Would you like Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy? Or Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy? Or Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy? Or The Rock, and Black Bunny? Or how about Tron Chica? Or Mixtape Springtrap? Or Lean? Or Jacksepticeye? The developers really went overboard with the amount of skins they added to the game. Don't get me wrong, some of these animatronics look real nice, and you can see that effort was put into some of these skins. But that's a lot more that can be said about the gameplay. A good 85% of all of the animatronics have the same mechanic in which you just wait for them to reach you and you give them a good thunderbolt. There's no variety, and it feels like the developers just focused on the monetization part of it, as you could potentially end up spending more money in this game than every game I've mentioned in this video so far combined. Fans also really didn't like the fact that the focus on skins is taking away from the focus of animatronics in its own franchise. Funtime Freddy, a mainline animatronic, was added an entire year after Golden Freddy was added to the game, and the developers are apparently ignoring the pleas of the fans and milking the game even further, leading to more beef between the fanbase and the developers, something that will also become relevant leading into the next game. It seems like the game at the time of writing this part of the video has also been abandoned, as there's not been a single update since my last main channel video. That's how long people have gone without an update, and if you search special delivery videos on YouTube, you would have seen an avalanche of people literally using the game to trade animatronics with others. Imagine telling someone in 2014 that this simple game would spawn an entire economy of animatronic investors. And what makes things even more awkward is the fact that it took so long for me to make this video that the game literally died. Yep, after nearly 2 whole years of complete radio silence from the developers, on February the 1st, 2024, they posted this image on the official FNAF subreddit, thanking the fans for enjoying their game. No statement, no talk about the game, no written thank you from the developers. They just kind of posted this image and bounced with everyone's money and the servers. This has meant that FNAF AR in that state is technically lost media. However, as you've seen with the footage I've recorded for this segment myself, a fan-made continuation using assets from the game was created by a new team known as Forsaken Studios, who revived the game and renamed it Forsaken AR. And these devs are essentially doing Illumix's job for them by fairly pricing the animatronics and adding seasonal events for people to continue jump scaring each other in the realm of mobile. With the reception this game has received, it seemed like trouble was brewing ahead for Five Nights at Freddy's fans, and the start of the 2020s would prove to be very turbulent for the community, as things would eventually go from bad to worse. The year is 2020. After a decade full of ups and downs, people were ready to herald in a new era of creativity. The past couple of years showed a steady growth in many sectors all around the entertainment industry. Many game releases happened the year before, as well as many conventions and events.
That's right, human NPCs are coming to Fallout 76.
The movie industry also scored big the year prior, with billion-dollar blockbusters being released every 2 months. The television industry signaled the grand finale of one of the most successful franchises in its history. Everyone was ready to take on the next decade, and it's shaping up to be the best year ever. And then
a Washington State resident fell ill after returning from Wuhan, China, where the outbreak began. officials now say more than
Fast-breaking developments in the coronavirus emergency in the U.S. and around the world. The number of cases soaring just today.
A ninth trust has tested positive for coronavirus in the UK.
It has been confirmed that cases in England. This is a statement from Professor. Every American is the role to play in defending a nation from England. He said, "We went that far by age, and at this moment we say, stay at home and so to stay at home, protect our relationships, and save lives."
After the release of Help Wanted, the developers of the game, Steel Wool, went back to their bunker to work on the next game in the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise. And this time, the game was going to blow all of the previous games out of the water with its premise and polish. The game was already somewhat teased at the end of Help Wanted after the Curse of Dreadbear DLC, but clues were starting to settle about the content of the game as far back as 2019, where Scott himself would use his website to help promote the game. After Scott produced another spin-off game for charity titled Freddy in Space 2, which was a sequel to the minigame in FNAF World, he posted this image to his website showing the back of 4 brand new animatronics that no one had seen prior, and a clue to the general aesthetic of the next game. Over the next couple of months, Scott would continue to post small clues about the content of the game, including some of the names of the new animatronics and characters that will be seen in the game, most of which I'll talk about a little later. But all of the information that fans were receiving didn't really give too much away about what you'd actually do in the game and what trickery was planned next from Scott. That is until the 16th of September 2020 during the reveal of the PlayStation 5, when this happened.
Gregory, your friends are worried about you.
Huh?
They're
Hold
here
up!
with me.
Huh?
Please come out.
What?
It won't happen again.
Oh my god, oh my god! I think I know what it is.
Such a difficult
What?
way
Fuck.
for all of us.
Oh my god! It is! It is! Oh my god! It's Five Nights at Freddy's! Oh my god! I knew it! Oh my god! Oh my god! The new game was confirmed as Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach, and everyone, myself included, was incredibly excited. In my eyes, this seemed like the logical next step in the FNAF franchise, especially seeing as of all the things the franchise has covered, they haven't covered true free roam. And if it's anything remotely like SCP Containment Breach in terms of scare factor, this could be one of the greatest franchise progressions of all time. Not to mention that the game looked absolutely gorgeous and was being shown in front of over 1 million people live on one of the biggest and most hyped events in recent gaming. I was proud. From a small indie horror game where you just move your mouse around to this, it's an indie game developer's wet dream. In the trailer itself, it showed a sparkly new Pizzaplex and some extra environments that would, or wouldn't, end up in the final game, including a weird space station and a giant shiny Freddy statue in what looked like the main hallway. And we got a small glimpse at another animatronic that we hadn't ever seen before as well. The trailer didn't have a release date attached to it, but with the price and release date of the PS5 being shown on that same stream, people began speculating that it would be released as a launch title. What followed could only be described as a standard AAA game development cycle, also known as a trash fire. Fast forward to the release of the PlayStation 5. Everyone and their mother flocked to Smith's, or Game, or Curry's, or Sainsbury's, or any other store that had a crumb of Sony to try and get their console, only to be met by queues so long you'd think the product was a main channel video. And once they got to the end of the queue, they were met with terrible news. They're out of stock! They could have been smart and woke up at an ungodly time to pre-order the PS5 at a store that has them stocked, like me. Thanks, Argos. But they weren't. So they run around the country. Wait, no, they stay at home because the government told them to, and they can't be outside after 9 p.m. or else they'll get nicked. Every site they go onto is sold out or slow because everyone wants to buy a PS5 and there's too much demand and not enough supply, and now they have to rely on scalpers to buy the console that they want. But they're pricing the product in question at 4 times the MSRP, so now they grab a weapon and wear their Air Force Ones and their balaclava and the gloves, and they head on over to the sculptor's house because someone tweeted out their address. Then they plant an atom bomb in the kitchen and set it off, and they run. Where was I going with this? 5 days after the killing frenzy that was the launch of the PS5, Scott makes a statement. The game's not done. The curse of the yellow graphic is acting again! Because of the complications that come with working from home, as well as the scope of the game, Scott stated that the game was to be delayed from a December 2020 release to sometime in early 2021. That isn't too bad. That's not a long wait whatsoever. So the fans waited. Fast forward again to January and there's another announcement. A second trailer is going to be released at an Nvidia broadcast. When this trailer dropped, people were disappointed, to say the least. All that was really shown was some locations and some of the new bots that you'd encounter during the game that aren't animatronics. Were we led astray once again? Scott came in once again to confirm that the Nvidia trailer was just a showcase as to how much RTX was going to be added in the game. I mean, come on, was that not obvious from the first trailer? My eyes could not comprehend how shiny everything was in that trailer. Let's fast forward the tape a little bit more. February 25th and the actual second trailer was released to the public, officially confirming that this game was going to be a free roam game, to the excitement of everyone viewing the trailer, and introducing a brand new storyline to the franchise that would serve as its own self-contained story. Everything is looking up! And then it all went to hell. The curse of the yellow screen acted once again, as in April, Scott announced that Security Breach was to be delayed to late 2021, almost a full year after the game was supposed to be released. And it was at this point where some people, a small minority of people at the time, but some were getting a little bit concerned. It's not like Steel Wool are as big as CD Projekt Red, but people who experienced the Cyberpunk 2077 hype machine looked at this situation and thought to themselves,
wow. I'm getting some real Cyberpunk 2077 vibes from this one.
Things would only go from bad to worse as soon after the delay was announced, the Twitter post happened. This isn't even a joke. I won't go too much into it, but I'll summarize it a bit. On the 10th of June, it was discovered that Scott had taken a bunch of the money he made from the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise and set it on fire. The unfortunate thing about the internet is that if you are a rich public figure, everything you do can and will be documented. And documented it was, as there was a list of questionable financial decisions made by Mr. Cawthon that was readily available and highly publicized. In response, Scott tried to defend himself from the outraged masses with a Reddit post, but then it escalated. Trained snipers were deployed outside his place of residence, sporting Twitter badges and red dot sights trained on his family members, or something along those lines. The arms race ended as quickly as it started, as just 4 days after the Reddit post, Scott posted a new statement to his website. TLDR, he quit. Yep, that's it. The franchise that he had created and curated and been through thick and thin was now null and void. People at the time may have seen this as taking the bag and fleeing, others might have their own take on it, but that's not important right now. The fact of the matter is, Scott was no longer a part of the franchise that he had built from the ground up and was actively contributing to, which spelled horrible news for the future because there was a game to release. And what did Steel Wool do throughout this situation? Steel Wool developed a website and took over the teasing duties from Scott, seeing as his website was kind of occupied at the time. This website functioned similar to how Scott promoted his own Five Nights at Freddy's games, with what looked like a slightly modernized version of the original office from Five Nights at Freddy's, complete with the fan and monitors that someone definitely gamer-raged on. Over the next 2 months, Steel Wool would update this website with some small teasers leading into the release of Security Breach, with a small mini-series titled Freddy and Friends on Tour, accompanying many of the site updates. This mini-series provided viewers with some blink and you miss it clues into the contents of Security Breach, including a slow reveal to the release date. The final trailer for Security Breach was dropped just before Halloween, and even more game details were revealed, as well as the final release date for the game, December 16th, 2021. The game was delayed for over a year, and so many things had happened within the Five Nights at Freddy's fandom in that time that it felt relieving to finally have a concrete release date for the next mainline Five Nights at Freddy's game. 2 weeks before launch, the store page was uploaded on Steam and the PlayStation Store, and it was at this time where some alarm bells started to ring a little louder. Going into the description of the game, and the very first statement was a cause of concern for me.
Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach is the latest installment of the family-friendly horror games loved by millions of players from all over the globe.
Family friendly? Family friendly?
Yes. That's what it says.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm pretty bloody sure it says that.
Okay then. But that's no biggie, because the grand day was arriving. It's finally time to venture into the next installment of FNAF.
Hi, it's me again. I said I'd be back. I always come back, like a wise creature once said. I'll keep it brief, briefer than Trunks. The biggest merch drop to date has arrived on Theft.store. Once again, I've received help from some very talented artists to bring you bundles, including t-shirts that tap into the nostalgia of downloading Weird Al MP3s from sketchy sites, long sleeve shirts with some cool, totally transparent designs, a hat within a hat, new phone cases for Samsung and iPhone.
including MagSafe. And the biggest thing, brand new posters for all of my characters. You can either choose them individually, or if you want to deck the walls with peak material, you could buy them in a bundle. If buying them framed is too much, you can also buy the print separately now. Buying the bundle will also get you a special phone wallpaper packaged in. And if you missed the old stuff, hoodies, sweatshirts, and mouse mats should still be available and should arrive in time for the holidays. There's tons more to see and loads of new merch incoming, so have a look at theft.store and take your pick. That's enough from me, for real this time. Enjoy the rest of the video. Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach was released on the 16th of December for the PS5, PS4, and PC. Yes, this time the PlayStation Puritans finally get their prized possession, and to prove the point that they were prepared to play, the developers chose to not allow people to preload. Yes, there was no option to preload the game whatsoever. It's no issue because the game shouldn't take long to install, right? It's a FNAF game after all, so the game shouldn't take long to install, right? 18 gigabytes! What the fuck am I installing?
You made a big mistake. Playing video games is bad. I've covered you downloaded into any game. This will be the last time I ever catch you playing it. Oh, fuck your mother. Yes.
What the fuck? So before I really get into the meat of the game, I think it's worth talking about a couple of things beforehand. First and foremost, I already know people in the comments are going to start talking about stuff that's happened with regards to the game's content now, but I just got here, and it's taken a very long time for me to write about this game in particular. So except for a couple of mentions, a lot of the things I'll be talking about and should really talk about are things from the initial release of the game, the one everyone played at launch. And ampersand, if you want to watch the uncut version of my experience with this game, it will be linked in the description and will show up around here. It's an over 10-hour adventure and will probably summarize my thoughts on the game better than anything. Also, it's going to be pretty difficult to talk about the things surrounding this game without systematically going over what happens in this game. I'm really sorry. I'm sorry, don't crucify me. I have to. You've survived this long into the video. Now that I've gotten those comms out of the way, let's begin with the game. Upon opening the game for the first time, you'll instantly notice that in the era of main menus looking minimalistic as hell, this game is no different, as all you have is the logo and the options to play the game. But that's not why I'm making a point about the menu so early. The real reason is something that will become extremely relevant as I talk about the game more, and it's the customization options that this game has to offer. Unintentionally. Security Breach was made on the Unreal Engine, which would probably explain away how glossy and glowy everything in the game is. And the main menu actually changes based on how far into the game you are and where you've last saved, which I think is a fantastic detail. However, the background doesn't function as a live dynamic menu, with the developers instead opting to use video loops to display each of the areas in the game based on what hour you last saved at. Standard Unreal Engine development practices dictate that any video file and pre-rendered cutscene has to be stored in your game's movies folder. And if you look at Security Breach's movies folder within the files, you'll find all of the pre-rendered videos they added in the game, but don't look at these just yet! We're mainly focusing on the main menu videos. Jesus Christ, the dust. Anyway, I found out extremely quickly that you could change the menu backgrounds by importing any video you want and dragging it into the game files, as long as it's named exactly the same as the original video that was there. So I did it, and lo and behold, I don't know whether it's gonna work, because I know they might have patched it. We haven't even started the game yet and we've already clowned on it. This is definitely going to be something else. So the game actually begins and we're finally introduced to the main attractions of this specific Fazbear Entertainment location, the animatronics. And let me just say, we've come a long way from the original 4, haven't we? This era of Fazbear animatronics are simply named glam rock, taking the name and aesthetic from the 70s era of rock and roll, where extravagant costumes and colors were seemingly the norm. And as such, the uncanny valley look of the animatronics from the previous games were lost entirely, as in this game, steel will go for polish and a more child-friendly aesthetic from the first few seconds of the game. But we haven't introduced any animatronics yet, so I guess we should do that now. Glamrock Freddy and Glamrock Chica don't really really need much of an introduction since they're already established characters in the cast with a different coat of paint. Glamrock Freddy's the main star and attraction of this entire location, and he's your companion throughout the entirety of the game for some reason. Glamrock Chica, on the other hand, is the first of many of the animatronics that attempt to chase you throughout the location and really loves eating things. Pizzas, that is. Get your mind out of the gutter. The other animatronics, however, are entirely new for this game and serve as extra antagonists to make your life just a little bit harder while playing, and those are Montgomery Gator and Roxanne Wolf. We'll get to know these animatronics a little more later, so I'll save the descriptions until then. But these four round off the main cast of animatronics and the main draw for Fazbear Entertainment currently. You will notice though that there's a significant lack of bunny representation in the cast, which is a little concerning. I can't believe that Fazbear Entertainment is going forward with Barney Erasure. The high quality opening production continues as the animatronics are preparing to perform in front of the masses, but Freddy gets a PTSD flashback of Woodstock 99 and collapses on stage. This malfunction causes his operating system to boot into safe mode, which is the most counterproductive measure ever, seeing as safe mode never works to fix anything software related ever. Freddy wakes up in his red green room, and it's at this point that you'll realize that you actually aren't playing as Freddy.
I lied to you all again. You're actually playing as a child inside Freddy.
So for some odd reason, the child just decided on a whim to hide inside Freddy after closing hours. I don't know, hide and seek kind of is a big thing with these games, so it does make sense to have a character that's really good at the game. Problem is, this little shit was so good at the game that they managed to hide inside an animatronic past closing time, without people noticing somehow. After being forcefully ejected from Freddy, the child gets scanned and is introduced to us as Gregory. And it's after this point that the game actually begins and we are off. And the first thing to pay attention to is the fact that we are tiny. I mean, we are a child and managed to fit inside a robot, it was kind of a given. But you can run, you can jump around, and you can look in the show mirror and notice Freddy eyeing you down. Freddy's going to do the responsible thing and tell on you for trespassing, but Gregory knows the way of the street and understands that snitches get rewards. He claims he's getting hunted by a security guard that has magical teleportation powers, judging by her sudden appearance at the window. Why she's gunning for Gregory is never explained in the game whatsoever, and in order to communicate with Freddy for the duration of the game, we are given a Fazwatch that serves as our main source of information. After that incredibly long setup, we're finally off and I can talk about the game mechanics now. Immediately outside the room and scattered around this huge location are save spots that... Okay, thanks for the tip. The game has an autosave system at random points throughout, but to add more tension, Security Breach takes after games like Alien Isolation and makes manually saving a game mechanic. Instead of being able to save anywhere, there are specific areas around the place that act as checkpoints for you to save your progress. And to save, you simply have to interact with them. But instead of the game instantly saving, you have to stare at the save spot for a couple of seconds while the game registers that you're saving it. This mechanic is there to prevent people from cheating their way out of a potential chase from any of the enemy animatronics, as simply reaching the save spot won't save you from getting caught. As well as this, unlike Isolation, you have even less freedom to look around you while you're saving, as the station requires your complete and undivided attention, and looking away from it will cause you to lose your saving progress and force you to start the process of saving the game again. But after saving your game again for the very first time, you get introduced to another character trait that Gregory has, and that's the fact that he's so small that he can fit in vents. Okay, sorry, I got worried. Normally mentioning vents would summon a... Oh, God! The very first vent we climb through also serves to clue us in as to how each of the animatronics we're going to meet behave behind the scenes. Roxanne Wolf is the first animatronic you spy on, and she's the personification of narcissism. She's the logical next step for people who are a bit too frightened of Fox and the Pirates, and can be described as a cocky prick who loves themselves an awful lot. Moving on to Monty Gator, and you don't actually see anything inside his green room. You only hear domestic violence.
To be prepared! Fuck! I hate Five Nights at Freddy's! And I hate my fucking son! Fuck! I hate my...
You can obviously tell that Monty is a League player in his spare time. In the next room over, you encounter Chica shredding in front of a mirror. And it just occurred to me that Chica's the only character that actually uses her instrument of choice in the entire game. And it's at the very beginning! Do any of these animatronics actually do their job? Where's the album, devs? Once we leave the vents, we finally get a good look at one of the main areas of Freddy Fazbear's Mega Pizzaplex. And let me just say that this is where the game shined the most. The Pizzaplex is by far the most elaborate location in any Five Nights at Freddy's game, and you can tell that the developers really wanted to make this Pizzaplex as explorable as possible. You can see that there was some care put into the environment, and this first open location shows some interesting Easter eggs and showcases of Fazbear Entertainment's former ventures, including references to older games like Sister Location and Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Noticeably, they're really going forward with Bonnie Erasure, as Toy Bonnie's picture doesn't seem to have a working light on it, whereas all the other animatronics from the second game have perfectly working light bulbs.
Symbolism, I've never heard of her.
You can take a look at some artifacts from the original games, including Chica's cupcake and the original frames from the first Five Nights at Freddy's game. The work that was put into the Pizzaplex cannot be doubted here, as one thing's for sure, Steel Wool did really try to give the Pizzaplex some personality and play into the whole 90s retrofuturism style, for better and for worse. You'll also notice that while exploring this early area, there are some doors that are locked off for security purposes. Obviously, since this is a horror game and the runtime has to be longer than 3 seconds, you have to find key cards around the Pizzaplex before you can get access to some of the rooms in the area, from level 1 all the way to level 10. Just how many security guards has Fazbear Entertainment conned into joining the company? Finding any of the key cards isn't a difficult task, as the game's plot will dictate when exactly you'll need said keycard. But for now, our task at hand is to find a photo pass to free Freddy from his room and introduce another gameplay mechanic, Freddy himself. It's not explained in the game fully why Freddy is so friendly towards Gregory, but after collecting the photo pass and freeing Freddy, the game throws a spanner in the Freddy lore by revealing that Mr. Fazbear here is an Evangelion, and Gregory is actually Shinji. As such, you now have the option as Gregory to climb inside Freddy's chest cavity and pilot Freddy from there. This mechanic becomes extremely useful, as all the other animatronics from this point onwards are hunting you down, and would not notice a child hiding inside an animatronic and piloting from the inside. You'd think that this mechanic would make the game extremely easy then. Just use Freddy to walk to every attraction in the Pizzaplex without getting noticed. But as you've probably noticed at the bottom of the screen, the developers thought about this. Somewhat. In a delightful callback to the original games in which batteries are scarce and run for 3 minutes maximum, Freddy has a very limited battery life as the game continues. If Freddy runs out of power with you still inside, Freddy tears you out of his chest and aggressively nuzzles your face. To counteract this, the Pizzaplex also has recharge stations located all around the venue to allow Freddy to recharge his batteries and use them again. And sometimes you can even break the game by entering recharge stations without Freddy, only for the UI to assume that you're still inside piloting Freddy and allowing you to exit the recharge station with your Titan. But again, we're getting way too ahead of ourselves here. Freddy's taken Gregory to the exit via a hidden underground network, and while they're on their way, you'll also notice some extra robots hanging around the place. Keeping up with the Fazbear Entertainment mantra of hating anything that doesn't have electricity running through their veins, there are janitor and security bots littered throughout the Pizzaplex, and for some reason, the janitor bots seem to run at 12 frames per second, cleaning absolutely nothing. But enough of that weird observation. The dynamic duo start heading towards the exit, and then all of a sudden Freddy stops and notices an injury on Gregory.
I feel you are broken.
Don't worry about it, I'm fine.
No, I feel that something is wrong. I am taking you to the first aid station.
There's no time! I'm fine!
This is also never properly explained, but Freddy takes you immediately to first aid, which for some reason is in the bookiest place in the entire building, which is also somehow where the security guard Gregory saw earlier turns out to be. She gets indirectly introduced to us as Officer Vanessa, and I want you to remember that name because it's going to be extremely important later on in the game. Yes, I've asked you to remember a bunch of things, but trust me, they're all gonna pay off. After telling Freddy how much of a cock-up he is, she walks off screen and teleports away. No, seriously, she has to have teleported away. There's only one proper exit, and that's where Freddy is.
We're dealing with something a little more than just a regular security guard here.
On to the next section of the game, and you're given a reminder about Freddy's battery life as his power runs out.
Okay, thanks, I could see that.
Now Gregory's on his own, and thus begins the next and most important gameplay mechanic this game has to offer. Stealth. Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach is marketed pretty heavily by the developers as a stealth game, where you have to use your wits to outsmart the enemy animatronics that are after you throughout the game. And now that Gregory's on his own, you get introduced to a ton of gameplay mechanics to accommodate this. As it's a free roam game, stealth and horror does go hand in hand, as some of the scariest segments in non-horror games do rely on you avoiding the ops, since getting caught is a jump scare in and of itself.
Let's go.
Hey!
Oh my god! This is demonstrated when Gregory finds himself in the public bathrooms, which are disgusting on their own, but made even more disgusting when you encounter your first animatronic enemy. And now this is where I have another HPP, and that is the fact that our protagonist isn't silent. Now hear me out. I, for one, like the voice acting in this game. Kenan Goff's performance as Freddy is pretty good. He embodies the role and acts as a good mentor to Martis Fetek's Gregory throughout the game. But I personally don't like the talking to oneself trope that horror games have a tendency to do, especially a game where stealth and making as little sound as possible is important. Chica is literally right in the room with Gregory. Here's what should have happened.
Possible, so we're not. Oh my god, is that Glamrock Chica from his franchise Five Nights at Freddy's? What the hell is she doing here? I guess I have to sneak past by pressing the square button on my controller so she doesn't notice me. And we definitely should not be running or else we make too much noise.
Again, it's a pet peeve and doesn't really break the game for me, but for a horror title focused on stealth, it's a little immersion breaking. Anyway, Gregory mentions using something to distract Chica, which leads us into another mechanic that... Alright, I get it! It's not a stealth game without distractions for the enemies, and littered around the Pizzaplex are random piles of buckets, plates, and other stuff. Interacting with any of these piles will cause any animatronic on patrol to investigate the sound, allowing you to juke them if needed. Although it somehow isn't even guaranteed that they'll check the sound no matter how many times you make noise. In the first example, you're simply distracting Chica, and after making enough noise to wake up your neighbors... Hang on, what did she just say? What? Now that Chica's distracted though, Gregory can simply walk past her through the bathrooms, and you may have noticed a weird icon showing up on the bottom right while crouching and... Alright! I get it! The color of the icon reflects your stealth status, and right now, an animatronic is looking for Gregory. She's doing a really shit job at it. But at least we've gotten past our first recurring antagonist of the game. Now we can move... I get it! Again, with this being a horror game, freely moving around at top speed would negate all of the tension that the game is trying to sell you. So at the bottom of the screen, you're given a stamina bar that shows up every time you attempt to run. And if you run out of stamina, instead of stopping completely, letting you become bait for any animatronic, like some games I can mention, you simply lose the ability to run and have to wait for the stamina bar to fill back up before running again. This becomes useful almost immediately as Gregory gets thrown into the first of many chase sequences in the game. Now he has to run away from Monty, Roxy, and Chica, who have all somehow caught up to him. When I say run, all you're really doing is leisurely jogging away from them, and Gregory finds himself in a very familiar place. Now this is the FNAF that I remember. Fazbear Entertainment really can't let old habits go, as this is the first of many security officers in the game. As per usual, the FFCMO acts once again, and they will act up a lot during this game, as the architects behind the Pizzaplex updated everything except the power system. Each of the special security doors located throughout the game all seem to run on battery power for some odd reason. I mean, with the ongoing energy crisis, maybe Fazbear Entertainment had the right idea ahead of time. Just like in the first FNAF game, usage of the doors causes their power to deplete, and there are many moments in the game where you have to race against time to complete a set of tasks before said doors open. In this case though, all Gregory is given is a remote update to his Fazwatch, which allows him to look through the security cameras, finally bringing in another major franchise staple to Security Breach. Gregory can use the cameras in the Fazwatch to locate any animatronic looking for him, and as the player, you're supposed to add this feature to your stealth arsenal, as yet another mechanic is introduced in the very next room, which... Oh, come on! Since Gregory is the size of an amoeba, there are several hiding spots strewn across the Pizzaplex that Gregory can hide in, and while inside, he can use his watch to check if the coast is clear before moving. I found this feature pretty useful, if it wasn't so distracting on the eyes. I don't know who thought it was a brilliant idea to have the screen flash constantly while using the cameras using this ugly filter, but it was enough to lower my eyesight's life expectancy by 6 years, and could even cause your epileptic grandmother to take up breakdancing after using the feature. I do appreciate the blending of FNAF franchise staples so far in this game, but the implementation of each one leaves much to be desired. After making light work of avoiding the animatronics, Gregory finally makes it to the main entrance. But of course things have to go wrong, and right before he makes it, the clock strikes midnight and he's locked in the Pizzaplex. I mean, if you think about it, it is Freddy's fault, because if he hadn't stopped to comment on how broken Greg was, they would have saved time and Gregory would have been able to leave the building.
meaning I wouldn't have to play the game. Alas, that isn't the case, and Gregory is told to pretty much wait it out until the security doors open at 6 a.m. Well, at least they got that franchise selling point out there. After all of this setup, the game actually starts here. Yep. All of this was just the intro, could you believe? But now you can really see the effort put in by the developers to make this Pizzaplex look as sleek as possible. Unlike every other location that Fazbear Entertainment created in the franchise, the Mega Pizzaplex serves as a family entertainment center, like Lakeside or Blue Water, but instead of shops, it's all one big brand. I guarantee you the stuff that's sold is probably going to be overpriced as hell. Moving on, from this point onwards, all the levels in Security Breach are split into hours, which already breaks the one rule the franchise had from the start, because we're not even spending 5 nights of Friday. From 12 a.m. to 6 a.m., your only goal really is to look around the Pizzaplex and survive without getting caught by any of the animatronics. And the game tries to make this task as frustrating as possible. You may have noticed that around the Pizzaplex, there are completely random collectibles strewn around the place in bags or in present boxes. Opening any of the bags around the location will send a ping to Greg's watch and give the player an insight into the inner machinations of Fazbear Entertainment from the perspective of the staff there and other unseen characters. And from these, you can see that their reputation still isn't out of the gutter after all of these years. It's because of this reputation that they must have an extremely hard time hiring security guards, so they decided to go full-on automated. So, with that being said, let's now talk about the enemy and danger system in the game, as this mechanic is a whole can of worms that I need to open. Cheers. All over the Pizzaplex, you will find bots everywhere. Some of them are just janitor bots cleaning the exact same area over and over again. Some are party bots guarding the entrance of some of the locations of the Pizzaplex later in the game. And some are simply just security bots prowling the area searching for any trespassers. Most of the bots in the game are relatively harmless, but if you get too close to some of the bots, like the janitors or the security bots, they will sound an alarm, alerting the animatronics to your position. Now on paper, this sounds like a good game mechanic. It's par for the course for any horror stealth game to have a feature that alerts enemies to your current location if you're not careful, like the guards in Amnesia the Bunker or even the other inmates in Manhunt. The execution of the mechanic in this game, however, is pretty frustrating to say the least. As the Pizzaplex is a massive behemoth of a building and there are only 3 animatronics total after you, it would in theory make them extremely easy to avoid, as there's a lot of ground to cover. It would also make triggering an alert scarier, because the animatronics would know exactly where to head and you'd have to be on guard to ensure they don't find you in the location where you last were. But for some odd reason, the developers decided to throw all of the tension out the window and rely on having the animatronics teleport behind you instantly if an alarm is triggered. It doesn't matter where you are or if you just avoided the animatronic, if an alarm is triggered, they will always teleport behind you, which led to some unintentionally hilarious moments in the game where glitches like this were extremely common. What the fuck? Yo? Huh? What's going on? What the fuck? Let's look at another free roam horror game that had similar-ish mechanics. SCP Containment Breach had an easier and better explanation for having SCP-173 always reach you at any given moment. In the game, there are vents all around the facility, and even though 173 is inhumanly fast when you're not looking at it, the reason why it could reach you from across the large facility is because it could simply fast travel through the vents. Hell, the Xenomorph in Alien also used the vents to fast travel and patrol around the area. It feels like the devs kind of shot themselves in the foot with regards to having the animatronics be a real threat to Gregory, as there really is no point in being stealthy in any area if the animatronics simply just teleport behind you upon getting jump scared by any of the security bots.
While on the topic of jump scares.
Jump scares make a return in Security Breach.
I mean, it's a Five Nights at Freddy's game. If it released without jump scares, it'll be like a Sims game releasing with no predatory microtransactions.
Jump scares across the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise have had varying reception. Some of them effective, some of them annoying, and others are just goofy. Security Breach decided to go for all of the above. All of the jump scares in the game have varying degrees of effectiveness, but due to the length of the game, the jump scares effectiveness really wanes as the game goes on. For some baffling reason, almost every time you get caught by a security bot, you get a really obnoxious jump scare before they signal the alarm. And this happens way too much to the point of it getting a little bit ridiculous. Off! Literally everything in the game has a jump scare one way or another, including Vanessa herself, which is the funniest thing I've ever seen. Another FNAF trope that slowly left the franchise as the games went on is the post-death screens. The terror of the situation you've landed yourself in, especially in the first couple of games by Scott, is emphasized by the post-death screens you receive in the game. From the eyes in the first game, to the blood in the fourth game, to seeing Freddy's head through the mask in the second game. Meanwhile, in Security Breach, all you get is... it just feels empty, and there's plenty of opportunity to have at least something there. The constant scare chords upon getting seen by an animatronic also leave much to be desired in terms of the actual intensity of the game. There are scare chords every single time, and sometimes they happen while you're getting chased by another animatronic. It just seems like the implementation of the jump scares felt haphazard and rushed, if you ask me. But now that I've talked about some of the main game mechanics, let's get back to the plot. Now that Gregory's locked in the Pizzaplex, he has about 6 hours to loiter around the place. Obviously, he can't just camp the exit or else we wouldn't have a game. So Freddy sends Gregory over to upgrade the entry pass he found, and Greg commits the first act of vandalism so far in this game. And yes, I said first. Now that Gregory has access to some of the wider sections of the Pizzaplex, he's sent over to the next major area, which is the daycare, which is hosted by the fittingly named Daycare Attendant. The Daycare Attendant is one of the more unique animatronic designs, and he's more commonly known as just Sun. Not Sundrop or Sunny Drop, just Sun. The common misconception spawned from the very things that Sun advertises, which are small mints. Looking around the giant statue of the Sun, and you can see his alter ego behind him, simply known as Moon. This must be some kind of false advertisement, because this does not look like this. There's no childlike appeal to this character. This kind of character design would get you several complaints from angry parents who left their children alone in a large shopping complex. But this is just the introduction to the actual fun part of the daycare.
The Gamer Zone.
The security badge we're supposed to collect is on the other side of the playing area, and to get there, we must first slide down into the ball pit. Now Gregory's in the pit, and he gets introduced quite suddenly to Sun, who jumps in the pit with him and carries him to a specific area in the playing zone. Attempting to run away from such a creepy character is futile, as he'll grab Gregory and place him right back at the very beginning of the playing zone. This animatronic isn't aggressive immediately, just a little more confused as to why you're the only one in the daycare at that point in time. But he does have one rule, and one rule only.
Keep the lights on.
Now, in order to escape from Sun, the game does tell you that you now need to distract him. You could have put a tutorial pop-up here, Steel Wool. Why was the distract one so far back? They could have just introduced it here and made it a bit more challenging. Anyway, since Sun is obsessed with cleanliness, he's extremely quick in attempting to fix any mess in the area. Once he does that though, he's very quick and makes a beeline towards you if you're on the ground. If you're not on the ground though, and you're exploring the climbing frames in the play zone, Sun will be visibly upset by this information and will burst into tears if you look at him from inside the climbing frame. Maybe I was a little too harsh on his looks. But that's not why Gregory's here. He gets the security badge. Then the inevitable happens. The power goes out, which seems to have a lethal effect on Sun.
Why would you do that? Lights on! Lights on! I warned you! I warned you! Naughty boy. Naughty boy. It's past your bedtime. You must be punished.
I think I need a parent. So Moon is a big believer in capital punishment, and Gregory's in a lot of trouble. Finally armed with a flashlight, the task at hand is to turn on 5 generators within the climbing frames to restore power, while avoiding the daycare attendant who's on the hunt for Greg. I, for one, do not understand why the generators couldn't have just been in an open area that staff could reach, but I guess it's for tension reasons. What if a child just trips the generator and electrocutes everyone in the place? This is one of the more tense parts of the game, or it would be tense if it wasn't so broken. Moon can be distracted just as easily as Sun can, and you can use that to your advantage. Simply knocking down all the possible distractables causes Moon to attempt to fix them all in order, buying you plenty of time to look around the climbing frame for the generators. Also, in another weird design choice, there are loads of physics items in the daycare, and there are some cases where there's no challenge whatsoever, as the daycare attendant can get stuck. That's 3. Oh, there he is. Does he go faster the more you
But after turning all the generators on, you're free to escape the daycare until the daycare attendant bans you from re-entering due to trespassing. And to make matters worse, signals the alarm, which causes all the animatronics to teleport to your location. But not to worry, Freddy also managed to teleport right outside the daycare, and you can easily just run towards him and hide in his chest.
Hang on a second, I thought the game said that if an animatronic sees you hiding in a location, they'd instantly pull you right out and beat you to death. Did they not account for Freddy himself, or are the animatronics just really stupid? They clearly saw Gregory climb inside, and now they're completely clueless.
More important matters are afoot because a new game mechanic is
Fuck off!
At the end of every hour, the daycare attendant leaves the daycare, which shouldn't be allowed, and comes after Gregory to give him some good old-fashioned capital punishment. The game tells you to now find a recharge station regardless of how charged Freddy himself is, or else you will land yourself a jump scare. Moon is also the only animatronic that has the ability to tear you outside of Freddy to jump scare you as well, so you're not even safe on that front. But once a recharge station is found, Gregory randomly gets a furry hallucination skipping across the screen. I say this because the distortion seems exclusive to Gregory, and Freddy does not see this rabbit. Contrary to what you may believe if you've never seen this game before, this is not Glitchtrap himself from Help Wanted. Instead, this is a brand new major series antagonist who goes by the name of Vanny. You may start to connect some dots between Officer Vanessa and Vanny due to the similarity of the names, but that's way too obvious. I'm sure there's a more rational explanation about Vanny's role in the overarching narrative, especially with how much hype she was given in all the trailers leading into the game. After this encounter, Gregory is given one of the coolest features that the Fazwatch has, and that's the option of calling Freddy I'm turning this off! Fuck! And that's the option of calling Freddy from absolutely anywhere in the Pizzaplex. It doesn't matter if Freddy's on the other side of the building, he will literally teleport towards Gregory at any time, except for when the plot doesn't allow it. And sometimes he'll even run away from Gregory to the wrong location entirely.
Not like this, not like this, please. Give me in, give me in. Freddy! Freddy, you bitch! Freddy! Freddy!
In the first bit of good news since the start of the game, Freddy has found another way out of the Pizzaplex, and Gregory now has to find it. But you can't go around the place like this without a map.
You'll get lost!
I bet we're gonna have to go on a fetch quest to find a map, aren't we?
Hi, please take this map. Take a map.
Thank you. Well, now we have a map, and Freddy's starting to look a little worse for wear. In fact, as the game progresses, all the animatronics start to look jankier and more worn down, which makes you wonder how the staff members clean the animatronics up for a performance when the Pizzaplex doors open in the morning. In order to get to the exit, Gregory has to fit through yet another vent, and this time, the game came prepared because in yet another gimmick, some vents in the Pizzaplex are guarded by this infernal monstrosity. I mean, come on, now they aren't even trying to make the animatronics look presentable here. This specific animatronic is called Wind Up Music Man, and the job of this toy is to prevent you from camping in the vents in the game. As in some vents, it will spawn in and chase you until you leave the vent, after which it sulks a bit and disappears. But now Gregory has found himself in the kitchen area, which is being patrolled by Chica. It's been implied in previous games that Chica likes to eat a lot, and Security Breach is no different, as you'll be seeing Chica stop to scran on thin air sometimes, so it does make sense that she can be seen a lot in the kitchen area. What doesn't make sense is the fact that the developers gave the animatronics yet another blind spot. I found out while I played the game that Gregory becomes non-existent to the animatronics when he climbs on a table for some reason, but I'm not going to complain about that too much, as another short gimmick is thrust onto the player. Greg finds himself trapped in another security office, but this time, there's only one door, and to escape, you have to distract Chica. How do you do that, I hear your brainwaves ask? Well, this next short gameplay mechanic would help, as now you have to control one of the staff bots and make a pizza before time runs out. And I found this section to be fresh enough compared to the constant fetch quests we've been getting so far. I also want to point out something real quick I didn't mention before. In some parts of the game, you'll notice that the save function doesn't work, and it always seems to conveniently happen while you're completing a risky task in the game. The intention of this is to prevent people from save scumming, but there is a point where this will become extremely frustrating, so I want you guys to keep another mental note of it. Now that another exit's been located, it's time to return to Freddy, and to do so, Gregory has to go through one of the creepiest parts of the game. Credit where credit is due, Steel will manage to make an accurate public bathroom. I mean, they are missing the random phone numbers on the walls and the shit smears from people blatantly missing the bowl and the blood and the piss, but I'm sure we can overlook that. There is no developer on earth that wants to be assigned to texturing all of that in a Pizzaplex bathroom. The darkness of the area and the fact that Chica somehow teleported there again also support the tension in this part, as you need to find a way out of the changing rooms and the kitchen with several staff bots patrolling the area. I'm going to be honest here, there is no way in hell you need that many robots cleaning around the place unless we're dealing with asbestos in the Fazbear Entertainment kitchens. Which probably isn't too far from reality. Gregory does eventually make it out of the kitchen and is greeted by the scariest possible monster imaginable. A robot! No, wait. A white woman! Gregory gets sent into the naughty corner where he has to think about his multiple heinous crimes throughout the game so far. And interestingly, during Vanessa's scolding at Greg, this happens.
Are you having fun yet?
No. So now we have to get out of here and find Freddy. It's a damn good thing someone left a present box in this room that contained just the item we needed to escape, otherwise he would have been a Greg sandwich. But the trouble doesn't end there, as Vanny herself is now patrolling the starting area. Making it to the lifts is easy enough, but if you take too long, Vanny shows the audience she has the makings of a varsity athlete and absolutely bombs it to your location. Now we're in the atrium and you can see just how large this Pizzaplex really is. I mean, we've covered so much ground so far and it seems to be the bare minimum. This place is truly endless. And oh, there's Bonnie. Well, at least they haven't fully gone through with Bonnie Erasure. You can put your pitchforks down. So for some reason, Freddy's had a bit of a mare and he's low on battery. And now we have to find yet another pass to access our next gameplay style, which is parts and service. In order to get there, Gregory has to venture to the other side of the Pizzaplex and is now up against Roxy, who has a couple of tricks up her sleeve to make things a little more difficult. First and foremost, she uses her sense of smell to attempt to sniff out Gregory. Are robots supposed to have a sense of smell? These don't seem like robots to me. And sometimes she can check hiding places too to see if there's anything worth finding. The next area is simply a corridor that's regularly patrolled by security bots. And the only protection you really have is hiding in the rooms on one side or in the containers strewn around the place. Let me also stop for a second to talk about another one of my pet peeves within this game, and that is the sound design. I've already talked about the jump scare sounds being lame, but I feel like another thing that could have been improved is the animatronic sounds themselves. You don't really get the vibes that these animatronics are supposed to be heavy robots trudging around the place. This is something I feel that the Joy of Creation got right. With that game, I went into detail about the sound design because the tension in that game was significantly increased by really showing us the weight behind the ignited animatronics via the sound design, especially their footsteps. This shit is terrifying. It made getting caught all the more scarier as the noises sounded inhuman. Granted, some of the jump scare animations were goofy as hell like I've said before, but it's the weight of the bots themselves that really sold it. Meanwhile, in Security Breach, you don't really get that kind of vibe. In order to compensate for a weaker sound, the developers decided to have the screen shake when an animatronic is nearby to demonstrate their weight in comparison to Gregory. This becomes extremely jarring when you have to call Freddy and your screen looks like Travis Scott is performing in the room next door. It's a small pet peeve, but it's something that I feel really should have been addressed during the development of the game. Now that the backstage pass is found though, Gregory heads over to the backstage offices to switch on the power for the backstage lift. And of course, things go wrong yet again. The OSHA violations this workplace must harbor are immense. Gregory is trapped in the room with both Roxy and Monty outside the security doors on both sides. And I must stress once again, why do the animatronics have access to these rooms? On each of the desks, you can see some code and a bunch of buttons to press. Unless the animatronics themselves are directing the performances, it makes absolutely no sense to have doors the animatronics can get through. Anyway, you have Roxy and Monty both trying to get in the room, and in order to ward them off, you need to administer a controlled shock when they're banging on the door, while checking on each of the screens to see where Freddy is as he's coming to rescue you. Sometimes the buttons don't even work and the door doesn't open, but this won't stop him. After running through a certain amount of doors, Freddy then reaches the ventilation shaft and rescues Gregory, and after switching on the NFT performances at the front, they have to race to a recharge station before time runs out, as it's almost the next hour. It's a damn good thing there's a recharge station right outside the place they needed to go then, but instead of everything going back to normal and you getting the option to continue the game while inside Freddy,
God, I need to work on wording this. The daycare attendant has other plans and knocks Freddy out to take him to the naughty corner, parts and services. Obviously, you don't have access to this area. So again, you have to take Gregory on a voyage to rescue Freddy and find yourself in possibly one of the creepiest parts of the game and the biggest example of wasted potential. All at the same time. We now have to traverse the long way around the Pizzaplex to reach parts and service. And on the way there, Gregory encounters... Is that what I think it is? Yeah, it is. The endoskeletons make a return in this game. Again, it's a Five Nights at Freddy's tradition to have the endoskeletons make an appearance in some way. But interestingly, the mechanics of the endoskeletons are yoinked straight out of the Joy of Creation's basement mode. The way in which the endoskeletons work in this game is that they'll move around and patrol the area in which they're activated in, if you're not looking at them. This is instantly a great way to add some stakes to this level, because this part of the Pizzaplex is littered with endoskeletons everywhere, and they're activated at random intervals. This actually forces you to think about where you're going, what you're looking at, and places to hide, because at any point an endoskeleton could be after you. The T-ball was set in place to make this a second to none creepy experience, only for Steelwall to blow it at the last hurdle because the endoskeleton's rules are inconsistent in this part. The way in which the mechanic works is that when you see the endoskeletons, they stop moving entirely, even if they don't see you. Maybe they have some sort of eyeball detection. When you're looking away, however, instead of making a beeline towards you, they'll just walk in a random direction until they get near or you're in their line of sight. It doesn't seem like the developers took into account looking through cameras and some hiding spots that the endoskeletons can't reach, such as in between the conveyor belts in some sections of the area. What I did like about this section though is, unlike the entire game up until this point, where you're getting chased by a singular entity, this section of the game is filled to the brim with endoskeletons, and you can end up getting hunted by an entire army of them. As well as this, in comparison to T-Jock, the endoskeletons are also pretty easy to evade. I think what made the basement memory in that game so scary was the movement style the endoskeletons had. They were unnaturally quick and also had the same heavy mechanical sounds that the ignited ones had. In Security Breach, Gregory can outrun them pretty easily, and this diffuses a lot of the tension in this segment, only being saved by the sheer number of endoskeletons that are after you towards the end of it. And even then, at this point, you're right at the exit, so that short burst of genuine terror evaporates in the wind. Just compare the endoskeletons here to this scene in the Joy of Creation. That being said, this section of the game was pretty well done and stands out heavily as the creepiest part of the game, as there's so much horror you can generate from just borrowing the abilities of the Weeping Angels and using it in gameplay. And this now takes us to one of the last gameplay styles that I haven't mentioned so far in this game, and it's the return of the old reliable parts and service. As is standard in the later FNAF games, parts and service is a huge part of this service. That was so shit. As you continue to play the game, you'll find yourself in this room a lot, for reasons you're about to find out. As just a lowly toddler, you're tasked with channeling your A-level physics knowledge by attempting to fix Freddy because something's wrong with him. To do so, you're given access to a set of colored wires and buttons that you need to press in a specific order in a game of Simon Says. As is also custom, the FFCMO comes into effect here, as all safety measures for Freddy are switched off for some reason. This makes you extremely bait, and the game warns you not to make a single mistake, or else Freddy will jump out of the operating table and spear tackle you to the ground. And when I say mistake, I really mean a mistake with a capital, italicized, bolded, underlined, strike through, word art, impact font, oversized, reverb spoken M. Because if you are a pixel off, you will get jump scared. And it will happen if you think you're too fast for Simon Says. Simon always wins 8 times out of 10. Congratulations! You've now repaired Freddy and reached the checkpoint. What's the checkpoint, you wonder? This is the exact point where Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach becomes one of the most frustrating games I have ever played. Immediately after repairing Freddy, your new missions are set, and now your job is to destroy all the other animatronics. This is not a joke. To do this, you need specific items and you need to go to predetermined areas in the Pizzaplex to fulfill your mission and kill them all. The first and most important item is in Chica's pink green room, where Gregory finds a party pass. Party passes allow you to access some areas in the Pizzaplex that are normally blocked off by a staff bot, but during gameplay, you are only given one party pass.
meaning that the game gets split up into different routes at this point, each of them giving you different endings to the game. So you have to choose between using your party pass at Monty Golf or using it at Fazablast. And the difference between the two game modes is the equivalent of choosing whether you want to drown or burn to death. I'm going to talk about the Monty experience first because that was the route I originally took when I streamed the game on release. When you get to Monty Golf or Fazablast, handing over the party pass to the bot guarding the entrance causes the bot to gracefully accept your ticket with a little dance. Am I safe here? When I got to Monty Golf, things at first seemed a little promising. It really encapsulated the vibes of crazy golf arenas I've visited before but cranked up to 11, since every fun zone in the UK is either overpriced or the most miserable experience you're ever going to have. The promise turned into adoration because the developers even took the time to make the golf course in Monty Golf playable. They did not need to make this specific game mode playable, but they went and actually developed a 9-hole golf course using each of the themes surrounding the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise, complete with its own UI and a debug menu. I don't think I'm supposed to have access to this. It's also really funny to visualize Gregory taking some time to cool off and play some golf even while every animatronic and robot in the building is still after him, but let's not also distract from the fact that we're here to collect a Faz camera. Once this item is collected, the tension in this game just completely disappears. It's actually hilarious how easy the game becomes once you're armed with either the camera or the Fazza Blaster. The employees at Fazbear Entertainment must have a fetish for getting flashed, as the camera is your personal flashbang for the night. You become an absolute menace for the rest of the game, as taking a picture with the camera causes the Fazcam to flashbang every animatronic in sight, including Freddy himself. The only caveat to the Fazcam is that it needs to be recharged when it's used, but instead of having to find a terminal to recharge the camera like you would with the flashlight, the camera recharges after a couple of seconds automatically, and you're not penalized for overusing the camera at all. Monty himself is the only animatronic who's immune to the flash because he came prepared and ready with some brand new Ray-Bans. What he didn't come prepared with though is some voice lines, because it seems like every time he finds you and engages in a chase, he's only capable of saying 3 words, 2 of them being little guy and the other one being hey. Now that Gregory has the camera, we need to head on over to yet another location to deal with Monty himself. Mazercise. Normally you'd require a ticket to enter Mazercise, and that can be found in a security office in Monty Golf. But I found a craftier way of getting in, and it involves the MIPS clip. Wait. To make sure that the animatronics remain a threat to Gregory throughout the duration of the game, Steel will allow all of the animatronics to open every door in the game, which makes sense, seeing as the animatronics are the main stars of the attraction and they'd most likely have access to the entire Pizzaplex. What they didn't take into account is me and my weird affinity with managing to break games. With the knowledge I already knew of the animatronics not being able to see you or chase you when you're inside Freddy, I seriously can't think of anything better for that. I went over to Mazercise and it just so happened that Roxy managed to open the door for me. Normally there's a barrier that you can't cross if a bot's blocking the entrance, but the game also didn't account for exiting Freddy, so I ended up clipping past the bot and into Mazercise, skipping a large portion of the game, but also soft-locking me. What I didn't know was that this next section of the game would obliterate my sanity. This is probably the worst section in the entire game. Yes, I'm talking about the maze puzzle. So far in Security Breach, the only missions and gameplay we've gotten except from the odd mini-game is just run from one place to another, or turn on 5 thingamabobs, or run here and there before the time runs out. It's pretty boring and shallow, and I'm sure the developers knew this because they developed a puzzle to get your gamer brains in check. Mazercise is pretty much what it says on the tin. An exercise zone, mostly populated by a maze. But this isn't just any maze. No, the way in which this maze works is that you have to reach a vent at the other side of the section, but you also need to configure the layout of the maze in a control room outside of the maze itself. And this thing is the most unintuitive maze design ever. The one time where a tutorial would have been somewhat useful on what we're supposed to be looking for, and it's nowhere to be found. What are these buttons for? What do these numbers mean? Why does the screen randomly disappear, forcing me to have to run through the maze
maze to test if it works. It got to the point that people were so frustrated with this puzzle, they either tried to cheat their way through or have to consult a Steam guide on how to get past the maze. I also find it pretty funny that the developers knew how bullshit this puzzle was because they actually made it decipherable in a future update to the game. This maze puzzle took me almost an hour and drained what hopes I had for enjoying the rest of the game. And I was even starting to question my GCSE grades. I thought I was just fucking stupid. So I'll try and explain what the maze puzzle wanted you to do. The numbers in the maze puzzle contribute to a combination that shuffles some of the walls in a specific direction on either the X or the Y axis. What you're supposed to do while keeping an eye on the very inconsistent screen is to find the correct combination that allows for safe passage into the vent through the maze. There is also a switch that lets you go between each axis and edit from there. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? You know what? Doesn't even matter. Here's the combination on the screen. If you want to try it yourself, come for it. I can't be bothered. It's so stupid. But now that the maze has been conquered, it's time for something completely different. Gregory exits the vent to find an area with blasters everywhere for what seems to be a dunk tank. Okay, this is interesting. And once you jump down, you get thrown into a cutscene of... Wait, is this what I think it is? Is this a boss battle? I take it back. This is the greatest game of all time. Or that's what I would say if this boss battle wasn't as monotonous as watching an ice cube melt. All you do in this boss battle is use the blasters to shoot balls, not at Monty, but at a target on the other side of the arena, slowly filling up a bar. You have to do this while Monty says his iconic 3 lines at you the entire time and gives chase. I do appreciate that you don't really have a cop-out in this boss battle, as Monty's sunglasses block any flashing light from the Faz cam, and you can't stay in one position the entire time because the blaster either gets FFCM mode or gamer ranged on. But after the bar is full, a button needs to be pressed which activates a cutscene. Why did they make his death so cinematic? What even is this game? But now Monty's dead, and you can steal the items from his corpse to upgrade Freddy. Yes, you can upgrade Freddy with his friend's parts. Suddenly, this game is a lot darker than the promotional material was letting on. In Monty's case, Gregory yoinks his claws, and after attaching them to Freddy in parts and services, Freddy gains the ability to open chain doors around the Pizzaplex, giving you access to areas that were initially blocked off. Freddy himself doesn't seem too fazed at the fact that he's literally wearing his friend's hands, but don't let that distract you from the next animatronic on our kill list, Roxanne. Okay, can I say something real quick? This Pizzaplex has to be an SCP or a TARDIS or something. There's no conceivable way that you could fit a place like this in a place like this. I refuse to believe that Fazbear Entertainment has enough bread to own land the size of Disneyland with the amount of lawsuits and broken features and overpriced items away. As well as the racetrack in this section of the Pizzaplex, you also have a bunch of staff bots and a whole load of scaffolding. But maybe Roxy's Raceway is just like Monty Golf. I mean, the racetrack is right there, so it does make a lot of sense that you'll be able to race. Let's try and get on the track. Just shuffle through here, jump on the track, and... If it wasn't obvious, I wasn't supposed to do that, so I'm not going to spoil the scene just yet. There's a random tutorial racer in Roxy's Raceway. However, he seems to have gotten a little angry and lost his head. It's Gregory's job to find and repair the head, and you know what that means? Yes, another trek to the other side of the Pizzaplex to turn on some generators to power the machine that's going to be used to sort this out. This also serves as a mini boss battle, although I think it would be more quaint to call it a larger boss battle because Gregory is facing off against the bigger version of that tiny Music Man toy that chased him through the vent. Seems like Music Man got tired of you constantly evading it and told on you. What a snitch. Anyway, this part has you reset breakers around the arcade based on what tutorial unit tells you to do. You also have to do this in a specific order or else the breaker won't even turn on. And you have to do this while getting chased by a teleporting Chica, a giant DJ Music
Man, and several staff bots patrolling around the area. What makes matters even worse is that if at any point you end up dying, you have to start the entire segment all over again because saving is completely disabled. Jump scares become extremely annoying in this part as well because staff bots are absolutely everywhere, and you will literally not be able to walk more than 5 steps without getting a face full of bots and Chica teleporting behind you, which forced me to have to use the fast cam all the time as a cop-out. The only props I can give this level is the banger soundtrack throughout this mission, with the song getting progressively more intense the more breakers you activate. So thanks game for at least giving me some nice music as I let the demons take over my mind and soul. After what felt like 1,000,001 seconds, I finally fixed up the head and took it back to Roxy's Raceway, so Gregory can install it onto the rest of the body. And now you have context for this cutscene. Yeah, there's no transition or anything. You're just driving the go-kart around the raceway. Roxy jumps down to intercept the car for some reason. I don't know what she was thinking, to be honest. I mean, seriously, what could she have done there? Maybe she wrote a suicide note somewhere in the Fazbear database? Anyway, Gregory channels the inner spirit of Max Verstappen, and I'm just gonna let this clip speak for itself. Holy shit! So now Roxy's neutralized, you can steal her eyes and upgrade Freddy with them, but not before having to evade Roxy in a short boss chase sequence. Since she's now blind, you're supposed to bait Roxy into diving through wooden planks to help you escape. It also turned out that Roxy played 2B2T in her spare time because she had hacks built into her body. After parts and service, Freddy notices that he can now see through walls, and sure enough, if you control Freddy after this upgrade, you can see all the collectibles in the Pizzaplex through every wall. Hilariously, Freddy doesn't really seem that pressed that he's literally wearing Roxy's eyes. Gregory doesn't care though. He has absolutely no remorse for murdering the animatronic in cold blood in front of thousands. You know the saying, time flies when you're having fun? Well, it turns out that killing animatronics is so damn fun, we've managed to do it until the doors reopen. Yep, that's correct. It's almost time to open up the Pizzaplex. Honestly, I have no idea how the staff members are going to explain the damage that Gregory's done overnight, but you're given 10 minutes in real time to make it to any exit in the Pizzaplex, while the daycare attendant is after you. Each exit will give you a slightly different ending, which I'll get into later. But for now, Freddy and Gregory are off to the main entrance, only to get interrupted by a familiar voice.
Hey, little man. Do you know what time it is? The doors are open. Why are you still here? You plan on moving in, or you just want a job? Maybe join the internship program. You would make a great security guard. Gregory, I think you deserve a reward. Go check the main stage.
Yeah, Vanessa, that woman that wasn't seen for the majority of the game, even though she's supposed to be constantly after Gregory, and she was confiding with the other animatronics, and she was a major part in the game's marketing. She wants Gregory to head back to the Pizzaplex for a prize. If that isn't the most bait thing you can say to a child, all you need is the white van and the promise for candy. After everything that's happened, who the hell would listen to the one person they were avoiding the whole night? Especially if they're promising such things with this tone of voice. Never mind all that. After all the shenanigans we've gotten up to, we finally reached the entrance of the Pizzaplex and the end of the game. Except nope. We haven't, because there's a last-minute choice we have to make. Gregory has formed an attachment with Freddy and wants Freddy to escape with him out of the Pizzaplex. However, Freddy works similar to Lime Bikes, as he will shut down if he's too far away without a charge. And he's the most unreliable piece of scrap metal I've ever had the displeasure of using. Meaning he'll have to stay behind. However, he has found a party pass that he had a party pass the entire time and he didn't think we should know about it. As Gregory, you can choose to leave right now or stay to investigate the disappearances. I wasn't paying attention. There were disappearances. If you choose to leave, you get a major ending cutscene where... Hang on, is this the cutscene? Is this what 10 hours of gameplay led to? This is the final cutscene. This is an ending. I'm sorry, but literally who signed off on this ending? It explained absolutely nothing. So Gregory's just a bum. How did Vanny find him? Okay, we're getting too ahead of ourselves here. Maybe choosing the other option will give us some more information. And just like that,
The game went from forgiving to Nigerian parents after you drop a glass cup in the kitchen at 2 in the morning. At launch, this is probably one of the most baffling game design choices a developer could ever make. I've told you about each of the features and sections of Security Breach so far in this chapter, but Steelwolf decided to take things one step further. If you choose to stay, to add an extra challenge, you are not allowed to save the game at all. There are no saves. If you get caught after 6 AM, it's over. You have to start all over from the main entrance regardless of how far you made it through the game. I would have been okay with this design choice if it was thought through for more than 1 second, but it seems like the developers knew that there wasn't really a challenge in the game, especially after obtaining a weapon. So permadeath was introduced to heighten the tension of not getting caught. And yeah, it did heighten the tension. However, the game itself is just not scary. It's now simply the prospect of doing all the tasks you've yet to do all over again if one of the animatronics decides to just teleport to your location. In future updates, they mitigated this by having a singular save in the main atrium, but again, we are getting ahead of ourselves here. We're going to have to go back and rewind again. This video is so long. You might have noticed that while Freddy and Gregory were saying their goodbyes, Freddy specifically mentions Vanny by name. However, there's not a single point in this playthrough where Freddy would know about Vanny, especially considering that at the beginning, Gregory could see her, but Freddy could not, and they both did not know her name. You want to know why they didn't know? It's because we chose to go to Montigo! Yes, an entire chunk of important information about the game and the lore surrounding it is locked out of reach completely if you choose to take your party pass to Monty Golf first. What you're supposed to do is take the party pass to Fazablast. That rhyme was planned. I wrote it in the script. So with all this being said, we're going to have to rewind all the way back to Fazablast. Fazablast is Fazbear Entertainment's answer to laser tag. Upon entering Fazablast, you engage in a simple game of capture the flag, armed with a blaster. You have 3 flags to capture. When I say capture, all you really need to do is camp at the flag and guard it for 20 seconds before it's counted as a capture while being shot at by staff bots with terrible aim. Hang on, they could have just called this game mode King of the Hill instead. This gameplay is literally what you do in King of the Hill. Side note, I found it funny that everyone on the internet's providing theories on why Gregory has absolutely no records of himself at all anywhere. The answer's pretty simple. He's left-handed. Left-handed people do not exist. Have you seen someone actually using their left hand as their dominant hand? Exactly. Stop attention seeking. While capturing the flags, Chica's also trying her hardest to not play the game and just chase you down instead. So to discipline her, you can just shoot her between the eyes, which causes her to get stunned. After you capture the flags, you win a prize at the prize counter. A golden gun! And right next to the area, there's a giant vent that leads somewhere. Continuing to follow the vent will lead you into a crack den? How did this get past OSHA or the architects? Or literally anyone. Inside the box, there's a mattress, an arcade machine, a desk, and text on the wall spelling out Vanny. It's at this point that Frederick Fazbear makes one of the most astute observations in the entire game.
Vanny. It is very similar to Vanessa, and also Bunny. That cannot be a coincidence.
Behind this area is a long walkway leading into what looks like nothing. Obviously, being the inquisitive little shit that I am, I went investigating and found a gate that looks like Winrod developed it. I checked the area out a little and managed to jump over the gate, and wow, it looks like the gate really is open. Let's head back. Wait, we can't head back? And now the crack den's open? Oh well, I guess we can investigate in more detail. What does this button do? so much context here! This is going to confuse all of you now, but let's go back to the ending of the game where Freddy and Gregory are at the main entrance. After completing Fazablast, you will now see that there's a new option in the choice menu that pops up, simply titled Vanny. You can only get this if you find Vanny's hideout, which means you are locked out of a huge chunk of the game if you don't use your party pass at Fazablast. If you decide to choose Vanny instead of staying or leaving, you get the option to continue the game and investigate more lore behind Vanny's existence in Security Breach. LOL JK, you get thrown into a fully animated cutscene. Why is this fully animated and rendered? Why is Freddy beefing with the staff bots? What, now he can see Vanny? Doesn't matter, he's dead now. And you're probably thinking that as Gregory, you're going to fight Vanny or something along those lines. No. All you do is get chased by Vanny and run all the way to her hideout to activate the button, which starts the cutscene. And they did it again with the storyboard thing!
Did they run out of budget for the last animation?
And yes, the game ends with Freddy and Vanny getting killed and me looking like a complete and utter mug. Or at least that would have been me, but we're still not done! All the enemy animatronics have been dispatched so far except one.
So it looks like it's time for Gregory to make some KFC out of this last one.
Good God, that was cheesy. To deal with Chica, we have to exploit her love for eating things. Seriously? This means we have to head on over to Bonnie Ball to find a specific mixture of scran that Chica loves to eat. I'm going to be honest here, nothing else to write home about in terms of the environment. Bonnie Ball looks like your typical bowling alley, except it's missing the very thing it's named after. What is with you guys in Bonnie Erasure? Once the mixture is collected, the endoskeletons actually return into the mix by activating in the bowling alley. And yeah, that's it. We got the mixture. Don't know what more to say here. This next part though is one of the funniest parts of the entire game. In the kitchen, there's a trash compactor on one side of the room, and at this point in time you're still able to call Freddy over to your location. An interesting thing to note about the way Security Breach was made. I've talked a lot about cutscenes, and you've probably noticed by now that there are several different types of cutscenes throughout the game, including pre-rendered cutscenes and live in-game cutscenes. I've said cutscenes a lot. After putting the mixture in the trash compactor for Chica to eat, an in-game cutscene's activated, meaning that any events in the map are preserved in the cutscene, including Freddy himself, which led to this happening when the cutscene started.
I smell pizza!
There's no fucking way. There's no way. There's actually no way. Wait, what's gonna happen to Freddy? No, Freddy's still there! What a Chad! What a Chad, he's made it! He's still there! Wait, no, Freddy, save me! What the fuck? What the fuck? Chica has now been neutralized, capping off our killing streak to 3 and commencing a surprisingly creepy section of the game. Gregory volleyed Chica's mouth off, and to escape, we have to traverse through the sewers, which house some creepy nightmare versions of the staff bots, and you're now required to be more stealthy than ever, as Chica's lack of voice box means that she's much quieter and it's harder to tell where she is, unless she starts running towards you and you can use the screen shake to your advantage. It's a slow climb back up to surface level, with different sections of the bin having different ways to avoid Chica, culminating in a final escape in which Vanny shows up and channels her inner Usain Bolt, because if you're not fast enough, what the fuck just happened? Now we finally have all of the animatronic parts we need to upgrade Freddy into the ultimate life form. Chica's upgrade to Freddy not only gives him a more intense voice.
This upgrade, it was Chica's. Please be honest. How did you get it?
But it also allows said voice to be weaponized, as pressing a keybind will stun any bot in range. This also allows us to access extra areas in the Pizzaplex that are locked behind Chica's stunning voice. Now that we've upgraded Freddy to the ultimate life form, it's now time to commence the grand finale, the true ending of the game. And this is what everything in the revived franchise was building up to. I've talked about this game and its plot, if you can call it that, for over an hour at this point, and we're finally there. And was it worth it? Yeah, it was actually. I enjoyed talking about it. Playing it, on the other hand. In Roxy's Raceway, there's a hidden area around the back that houses an elevator. And obviously, due to the FFCM mode, this elevator only has enough juice in it for one trip only. The game warns you about this by giving you a choice to stay or leave again. Let's go and see what the big deal is. Somehow, we found ourselves in a completely separate section of the Pizzaplex. It looks suspiciously like an old FNAF game that I played before. Hang on a second. There is no way. Gregory and Freddy find themselves somehow on the remains of the pizzeria that we owned, and Cassette Man burned down at the end of Pizzeria Simulator. How did we end up here? Do you mean to tell me that Fazbear Entertainment really went and built this huge modern place over the remains of the pizzeria? That's the smartest thing they could have done, and I cannot believe I didn't connect the dots when I should have. But more important matters are at hand now, as Freddy begins to recall why he thinks he's so helpful to Gregory, and why he's so attached to this old abandoned place. What the hell is that? Freddy and Gregory then fall into a weird section of the destroyed pizzeria, and we're introduced to the final boss of the game. I wonder who it could be. I mean, Vanny was such a big part of the game's marketing, and the purple in this area also might provide another clue. There's no way that they seriously brought back William Afton again. They did. They brought him back. Why? His story literally ended in Pizzeria Simulator. This is beyond beating a dead horse. This is like shipping it to Tesco and beating the staff member that sold you the meat instead. The final boss battle at least is something different and harkens back to classic Five Nights at Freddy's gameplay. Similar to Sister Location's bonus night, there are 2 doors and a vent that you have to prevent the 3 animatronics you beat the shit out of from entering the room. While doing this, Springtrap, wait, no, Burntrap is attempting to possess Freddy, and you need to activate buttons on a random television that Burntrap will show up on, which will set him alight. In Chica's case, you simply have to prevent her from entering the room, and she'll eventually give up after banging on the door. This is the same for Monty, except he's exclusively crawling in the vent. Roxy, on the other hand, cannot be stopped by a measly door, and you have to evade Roxy while she runs and flails around the area. Wait, no, that's not right. You're actually supposed to jump into Freddy and scare her off by using Chica's voice box. But this game was made by Steel Wool, so I'm hiding by the bed now.
You can't get in here. Oh my god.
Which did make it a little bit harder because now I had to run to the button while Roxy was running around the room, but it also meant that I missed out on another feature of this boss fight where this blob thing starts attacking the room with tentacles, and now you have to avoid those while checking the monitors for Burntrap's location. After burning Burntrap enough times though, you end up winning. No transition whatsoever, Burntrap just gets taken by this abomination, and the pizzeria is now crumbling to dust, and Freddy and Gregory just run away, and the game is finally over. So, that was something. After everything I've said, do you think I enjoyed the game? If your answer is no, then you're wrong. Because I, for one, mostly enjoyed the game. But not for the reasons that you think. Think about how many different gameplay mechanics you go through in this game, and just how long it is compared to all the Five Nights at Freddy's games that preceded it. I, for one, commend the efforts of the devs at least to try and create an all-rounded FNAF experience for modern consoles as opposed to games that only rely on one gimmick the entire time. It kind of felt like the developers were in over their head with regards to specific game features and how expansive the game was going to be. Remember when I mentioned the amount of delays that the game went through? Now that you've somewhat experienced what I went through while playing the game as well as some extra things on the side, you can probably now understand why Scott was apprehensive about progress on the game itself. When Security Breach was released and people played through the game, the most common emotion that people went through while playing the game was disappointed! The effort that was put into the game itself can't be discounted, but part of the reason why the game felt so rushed in more places than others is that it's actually an unfinished game.
Wow, an unfinished game in 2020 +1? That's like
That's like Adobe software being functional.
Security Breach is one of the rare cases where the game was actually better the further back into development you go, becoming the first ever horror game to be developed backwards. But the issue at hand lies with how much the developers ended up cutting from the game. Countless playable levels were discovered to be still in the files at launch, including a fully playable go-karting section at Roxy's Raceway. The kart in the files is drivable with a fully functional UI and a lap system, so it's clear that they had plans for more features in the game. As well as this, it felt like the game got Ubisofted in development, as footage from the reveal trailer and subsequent trailers show a more vibrant and feature-rich Pizzaplex than what we were given. Another removed feature from Security Breach is the option to have a Vanny meter. This game mechanic would have been there to prevent people from loitering around in areas for too long, as Vanny would end up getting spawned into the area to attempt to look for you. This feature could have worked wonders in making the game a lot more intense and remind players that Vanny's supposed to be the main antagonist in the entire game. And the developer confirmed that this feature was scrapped during development and wasn't even supposed to be in the game anymore, relegating itself to the debug screen. And speaking of antagonists, the tone of the game was completely shot to hell during development. There are some unused voice lines and subtitles also found in the files that would have given the game a lot more consistency with its tone and what Gregory and Freddy had to go through. And this goes back to the original description of Security Breach, where Steel Wool described the FNAF franchise as family friendly. I think this was a major turning point for some people, because if the original voice lines were kept in the game, the plot would have made more sense. With the amount of ideas that were removed from the game or were in development before getting scrapped, it's led the fanbase to attempt to deduce where it all went wrong for Security Breach. The game had gotten delayed several times, and to some, it felt like Sony and Nvidia were beginning to lose their patience with how long the game was taking. Both companies heavily promoted the technology within Security Breach, such as the lack of loading screens flexing the PS5's SSD, and the inclusion of RTX in the game becoming a huge selling point. This in turn probably forced the devs into having a playable copy of Security Breach for a holiday release, which did prove to be extremely detrimental to the game's quality. Others have argued that Steel Wool just isn't built to make games like Security Breach. Looking at their portfolio before Security Breach, and you can see that they were mainly either a support studio for VR titles, or their main games are minuscule and self-contained. After staying in the paddling pool for years, suddenly they're thrown into the Pacific Ocean with just a kickboard. Considering how all over the place the game is, both story-wise and gameplay-wise, it really does seem like Steel Wool just weren't built to make a game of this size. Don't get me wrong, the Pizzaplex looks awesome, and I know so much work must have gone to even make the building semi-coherent, but it's all in service of everything else being unfinished. It's like the developers spent millions of dollars and several years creating a VR chat hangout world, only to turn around and realize, maybe we should add some gameplay. And then they had to load the game with fetch quests to fill the runtime. The VR chat comparisons are also extremely valid, because I have been withholding information from you this entire section of the video. Apparently this isn't even common knowledge, but while I was researching about this game, I decided to investigate the Pizzaplex myself, because it's so bloody massive and there really isn't anything to do until I checked a website known as Fab. For those of you guys who don't know what Fab is, it's a combination of what used to be Sketchfab and the Unreal Engine marketplace. Do you see where I'm going here? As a side tangent, I use sites like Fab to help me with making 3D content, and I was casually browsing the site, as you do one day, then I found something really familiar. I've seen these assets before. Also, what kind of hospital looks like this? I must be losing my marble. The game's an asset flip. Now, as a disclaimer, asset flips aren't necessarily a bad thing. Don't get it twisted. A lot of developers use assets from asset stores to help make their game. Sometimes you need assets to help you develop your game. I'm not knocking people who use assets, but once again, consider the price tag of this game and how blatant this is. I thought it was funny to mention. Now, do not take this as a signal to go and harass developers and get your pitchforks out and hunt them down for sport, because assets are not necessarily a bad thing, as I've said before. And most of the content in the game is original anyway, judging by the art station that you guys are seeing on screen right now.
I just thought it was really funny to mention. While I was talking about the game as well, you may have noticed a lot of visual glitches and lag in the background. The lack of QA testing and Security Breach is apparent, as there are several bugs and glitches in the game. Several bugs that either softlocked the game, skipped an enormous chunk out of it, or even downright broke the whole game were extremely easy to get. So much so that it became a sport to speedrun Security Breach at launch. Countless videos and streams were made showing how easy it is to beat the game by skipping a huge chunk out of it. And the speedrunning arms race continued to the point of being able to beat Security Breach in under 5 minutes by just no clipping in the right place. I'm pretty sure that Summoning Salt could probably make an entire production out of the history of Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach world records. The sheer amount of bugs also got the best of several YouTubers, including me, with things such as a random T-posing Freddy in the lobby.
Oh, what? What? Whoa, whoa.
Or how about Freddy disappearing from existence in the elevator? To upgrade Freddy and make it through, Or how about the Gigamonti glitch?
Hey guys, whoa, chill.
Or how about the sheer amount of times enemies ended up getting stuck during a chase, rendering it a non-issue? Turn the volume of the voice lines off and the entire game breaks. Jump into Freddy while jumping and the whole map despawns, letting you walk everywhere.
Right, so let's get out of here before... What has happened? What?
Before games like Cyberpunk 2077 were released, you'd expect this from amateur devs on a free game or something. And I would give Steel Wool the benefit of the doubt, as this was their first attempt at such a large game. But considering that it was rushed to a holiday release with a £30 price tag and this amount of game-breaking bugs from the get-go, I'm shocked that no one at either Sony, Nvidia, or Steel Wool themselves thought to delay the game one more time. A little more time in the oven would have probably made the game slightly more passable in the public eye. And it's clear that Steel Wool know this, because since the release, they had been working on patches to the game with the intention of fixing several bugs and glitches that are present. Look at how long the patch notes are on the first major update to the game. Countless things have been fixed, detailed by insanely long patch notes. I will admit, the difference between the launch version of the game that everyone paid for and the version now is night and evening. The game doesn't try to kill my PC upon loading it up. It's much better optimized than before, and some of the areas of the Pizzaplex have been given a lot more character compared to how they were before. But that's still not enough, even giving the developers the benefit of doubt. A lot of the patches to the game just amounted to putting a bandage on a decomposing corpse. What makes matters even sadder is that in a lengthy statement posted to the FNAF subreddit, Steel Wool claimed that they'll be willing to support Security Breach in the long run, saying that Security Breach is our baby and we plan to see it grow and support it for the long haul until it goes off to college and barely calls us anymore, and we're lucky to see it during the holidays. Well, this kind of makes them a deadbeat, because after just 2 major updates and the Ruined DLC, they abandoned it! There has been no further updates to Security Breach's base game in years because they moved on to other things! It's clear that Steel Wool really tried to fix some of the game's many flaws, like the FNAF World incident, but in my honest opinion, I don't think any amount of bug fixes can rectify a fundamental issue in Security Breach, which is the story. Or lack of. There are so many plot threads and story beats that are left completely unanswered. The only way to find out more information about the Pizzaplex itself is by looking at Greg's Fazwatch. And even then, there isn't much information about Vanny and Vanessa, who, as I've said before, were heavily marketed as the main antagonists of the game. The only way to find out more information about Vanny is by finding retro CDs around the Pizzaplex, which upon listening will detail Vanessa's conversations with her many therapists, which is understandable because the security guard is a stressful job. Apart from that, there is nothing in gameplay to suggest that Vanny is the main antagonist in the game. Ironically enough, the things that would have clued people in were cut from the game. Security Breach's trailers sold people on a completely different story to what was actually provided. And I think that's really disheartening, because on paper, Security Breach had the makings of an extremely solid reboot of the franchise. The decision to tie the events of this game in with the original Click Team games by Scott also concerned me greatly, as it felt like the developers couldn't even commit to having Vanny be a main villain in what is basically her own story with Gregory. The inclusion of William Afton at the time just seemed tacked on. Disclaimer, I have to add "at the time" in air quotes here, because while it wasn't fully confirmed if he truly was an Afton or not, this was the most common opinion and what made the most sense sense. This video is not about the lore specifically, because if it was, then this would be 5 hours long and my head would explode. I am also aware of future retcons, and this will be an important point later in the video. Back to old me ranting. After such a concrete ending in Pizzeria Simulator, having Afton return as yet another variant of Springtrap seemed like a slap in the face. Admittedly, the design is pretty good, but having him included all of a sudden just seemed like the developers couldn't think of anything compelling to keep FNAF fans pacified. Couple that with the randomness of some of the endings in the game, such as Freddy burning down the entire Pizzaplex and clotheslining Vanny off a roof to their death, which admittedly is bloody hilarious, to Gregory suddenly becoming an engineering major and hot-wiring a car to keep Freddy alive. It's exhausting to talk about the potential for the game if the developers were given more time. As you can see the care put into the mini-games within Security Breach. There normally isn't an incentive to go for 100% in the game, but I will admit that Steel will at least try to make the game enticing for completionists by having endings for completing some of the arcade mini-games within Security Breach, such as Princess Quest, which was a really good puzzle game that could have stood on its own. It was relatively simple, but it included some unique locations and gameplay that also clued players in on the many links between Security Breach and Help Wanted, including locations that look similar in style to existing areas in the FNAF franchise, and taking some concepts from the Curse of Dreadbear DLC, such as the Corn Maze level, which also featured Grim Foxy as an enemy in the level. In fact, each of the endings of Security Breach net you a number of stars depending on the content in the ending, from 1 star to 3 stars. The ending in which you play through all of Princess Quest, funnily enough, is the only ending in the game that actually nets you 3 stars, which is even more confusing. But this video is not supposed to be a lore dump, so I'll save that until later, because if I went into that, your eyeballs will fall out. It's just not enough to justify how much effort you have to go through in the game. It's all in service of such a whack ending, it's exhausting to talk about the potential the game could have had. On the topic of DLCs, Steel will have also announced a DLC for Security Breach titled Ruin, and I guess only time would tell if it's a resounding improvement over the base game, because this was a trip. Or if the franchise will be left in ruin. Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach Ruin. That's a mouthful, holy shit. Was released on July 25th, 2023 as a free DLC to the base game. And I have to be completely honest, I was checked out. After what I had to deal with regards to the base game, I wasn't really all aboard the hype train like I used to be. Call it being jaded, but after being burnt to a crisp by daring to be excited about Security Breach for 1 second, I decided it was time to step back and see what the game has to offer without too much of an emotional investment. I've mentioned this a lot with regards to Security Breach, but one of the biggest things about the game was that it just wasn't scary. The Mega Pizzaplex is so intricately designed and it is massive, completely deleting all forms of tension, even while the entire place is littered with security bots that spawn the animatronics behind you if they see you. It's brightly lit, and even with you and Vanessa being the only 2 humans in the entire building, the open world nature of the game didn't really make you feel uneasy at all, no matter how much environmental fog was added in later updates. So when Ruin's first promotional trailer was revealed, showing the entire Pizzaplex looking wrecked and ruined, I was actually cautiously optimistic. Not fully optimistic, but about 30%.
20%.
30%.
Yes.
There also was a weird stint during the promotional cycle of Ruin where the Steam banner for the game changed from this to this. What's weird about it is that they just switched it back after a couple of weeks with no explanation. Anyway, that's enough about me. What about the actual content of the DLC? Well, first and foremost, the story is pretty simple. You're playing as Cassie, identified later as Gregory's best friend, and she has a mission to do. Gregory somehow found himself trapped in a now abandoned Pizzaplex. And to that I ask, how? We spent 3 years trying to escape the thing and he's back! Anyways, Cassie's received a distress call from Greg asking her to rescue him from the ruins. Now, unlike Curse of Dreadbear, the DLC for Help Wanted, this DLC promoted itself as being 100% Due to security breach being a complete travesty for many, Steelwool definitely had this made as an apology because it certainly shows when you open the game for the first time. Okay, I joke, I kid, that was a joke. The actual DLC is actually legitimately alright. And I don't think I need to talk a lot about it like I did with Security Breach, but there are a lot of things this DLC does that I am so happy about. The first thing is that it actually tried to be scary. Now, for the franchise standards, that is not a high bar to clear, especially recently. But one thing this game does well is attempt to fix the tone. And it turns out it's really easy to do it when all you have to do is destroy the entire Pizzaplex. When the game opens, you're treated to a cutscene of Cassie managing to make it into the Pizzaplex through a hole in the wall. And there are so many alarm bells ringing right now 10 seconds in. Let's ask the question together. Why the fuck is Cassie here on her own? If she was smart, she'd jump in through the hole, then 6 helicopters, 5 tanks, and 4 different battalions crashing through the window scanning for signs of life, then terminating it on sight. Cassie is a single-celled organism. You cannot convince me that she is that stupid to go to a place like this of her own accord. This then leads into yet another HPP because Cassie likes to talk a lot to herself throughout the whole game. I made a joke about this when I was talking about the base game, but I'm sure you guys don't appreciate when you're playing a game and a character starts behaving like a Hitman NPC and broadcasts loudly to the world that—
Oh, hey! I wonder what this game object is in the distance. Maybe if I was to move my finger 5 centimeters to the right and apply pressure to the forward arrow key on the keypad in order to simulate a forward movement, I will be able to pick up this game object that's relevant to the plot.
It happens a lot during this game, and it's a far cry from when the only form of exposition or tutorials you actually got in a FNAF game was a well-written voice message left by a certain guy on the phone. That aside, we're given a flashlight to explore the ruins of the Pizzaplex, and I have to say, this is an instant improvement over whatever we were given in the main game, because by the time we reached the halfway point of the base game, Gregory was already armed with an admin gun, making the rest of the game a complete joke. In this DLC, Cassie only really gets armed with a flashlight and a walkie-talkie where Gregory reaffirms the mission and tells her that he's trapped on the other side of the Pizzaplex. Or is he? Something's not right from the get-go. Also, have you guys heard of this literary device? Cassie continues her journey through the abandoned Plex server, and as you're playing, you'll quickly realize that Steelwool are definitely trying to make this game actually scary, because the jump scares per minute ratio, especially at the start of the game, is a little bit ridiculous. It's like a haunted carnival where skeletons jump out and say boom every 3 seconds. I mean, it's a jump scare. It could make you flinch, but it's not executed terribly well because it's like I said all those years ago. It's the horror equivalent of someone tickling you and declaring they made you laugh. So anyway, here's what Chica looks like now. Apparently this place is so abandoned they didn't even bother preserving any of the animatronics, even though they're the prized possession of the corporation and probably cost a lot of money to make. If they're just being left here to rot, how much money is this company making? More important matters are afoot because we finally have a brand new gameplay style. After how many hours, we have something new! Cassie finds a Faz wrench, and this is going to be our portal gun for the rest of the game. Apparently, she's in a family of engineers, as she mentions her dad used this for work, and this device essentially carries the rest of the game, along with one more item that we'll get to in a bit. If you really think about it, the base game didn't have many gameplay mechanics to it. With the exception of parts and service, all we really did in the base game was run from one place to another and press a couple of buttons, and that was it. I mean, technically it's in character for the entire franchise, as the original Click Team games before Sister Location had you just click buttons but faster every night. But that's really not something that could justify an over 10-hour game that costs 10 times as much. The Faz Wrench is an instant improvement over the base game because now you're given puzzles. It's not much to write home about, but god damn it, I will take the dubs as I get them. One of the main puzzles that Ruin has going for it is this one right here, where you're supposed to fill each of the tubes up until all of them are in the designated zone. When you stop giving the tube attention, it starts to deplete, which means you have to time things correctly in order to have the tubes filled, which I think is a great puzzle and begs the question, why was stuff like this not in the base game? But now the first puzzle mechanic is done and dusted, we go through the wreckage of the Costa Concordia and come across
Where did he come from? He just teleported in! Okay, we're in Monty Golf now, and before you ask, yep, it's still playable. Somehow. It's here where we... Wait, hang on a second. I've seen that before. Rewind about an hour. Mask, you get greeted with another cutscene in which someone is speaking. Is that what I think it is? Yeah, it is. We're given a mask, but this time there's wiring and a bunch of other weird things in it. And upon wearing it, it seems to completely rewire our reality, introducing the next and most important gameplay style for this DLC. When the mask is worn, it completely changes everything we see. Cassie can now perceive things that straight up don't exist, and she also has the ability to phase through objects in this AR world. How is this even possible? They don't explain at all, so you're just going to have to take it. It's not 5 minutes later where you're introduced to yet another gameplay style. It's not a FNAF game without looking at CCTV cameras. So in some areas of the game, you are given camera terminals where you can bait animatronics using samples created from your own voice. Remember when I talked about literary devices? Continuing through Monty Golf, and now we've reached an electrified door, which leads us into gameplay style letter 4, where using the mask we were given is imperative. As a result of the Pizzaplex being abandoned, there are random things across the entire building that are, for lack of a better word, corrupted. There are several nodes in the area where Cassie is, and the task is to find them all and deactivate them in order to deactivate the mother node, which has a very peculiar shape. Now, doing this would be incredibly easy, so the developers decided to add a handicap where using the mask for too long will... So now we have a biblically accurate glitch trap that follows us around if we have the mask on, and apparently they've been in bed with the Slender Man, because getting too close to it turns us into a Panasonic TV circa 2003. That's not the only issue, however. If Cassie keeps the mask on for too long, biblically accurate glitch trap ends up spawning in an animatronic to look for her, which means you, the player, have to be stealthy as well before it despawns. Once it does despawn though, you can deactivate the other glitch node and head back to the mother node where another puzzle spawns in which you're given a grid and you need to attach the symbols on the grid without crossing over. Once you've done that, the security is breached and you can move on. And I really must ask this again. Why wasn't any of this in the base game? We're not even 30 minutes into the DLC and it has infinitely more source than security breach. It's actually insane. At risk of turning this into a plot summary again, which I don't want to do after covering the base game, let's quickly go over the other gameplay styles they have in this game. Immediately after completing the first major puzzle of the game, Cassie encounters the daycare attendant who's somehow still there. How long has this place been abandoned? Now we know that the daycare attendant hates the light, and there currently are no lights in the daycare, which means we got some generators to turn on. But before we do that, there are some blocked off paths we gotta deal with. Introducing gameplay style numero 5. We're now on observation duty as there are anomalies in some of the security cameras. The first camera tells us what they look like and the order in which you're supposed to remove them. Once that is done, it should open up the path and let you continue doing whatever it is you're supposed to do, which is to reboot the daycare attendant, obviously. He gets rebooted and carries you to safety, leaving you to get to the daycare theater, where you have even more anomalies to find across the cameras. Doing that will spawn a giant endoskeleton. Where did this come from? This isn't your regular FFCMO anymore. This is UFFCMO. Doesn't matter because you're tasked with crawling in its mouth. We are back at Monty Golf and we're tasked with completing one of the longest puzzles in the game. It's all well and good that we have to deal with going around in circles, unlocking random doors and lowering different platforms, so why don't we add ice physics into the mix? Everything you've learned so far in the DLC is put to the test here, as 4 security nodes need to be deactivated all around the Monty boss fight arena, complete with bottomless pits you can fall into if you're not careful. And the mask is absolutely required because there are some platforms that just won't show up without it. Taking off the mask while on these platforms just deletes them from existence and you end up falling to your death. How did the Pizzaplex get abandoned if they have tech this advanced? Jeff Bezos would have led an army of tech bros into Fazbear Entertainment and killed everyone inside for less. The mask also lets you go through portals that lead into alternate dimensions containing collectibles and paths to the other security nodes. And I know I'm constantly saying this, but man,
Playing this DLC makes me so sad that the base game turned out the way it did. This has infinitely more source, and you can tell that this was the intended product because it's paced decently enough and has a wealth of different mechanics that require you to adapt to the situation. It also helps that the game is pretty linear, with a constant auto-saving system unlike the base game where you could only manually save. It just helps the pacing. I will say that the game can't let go of old habits, as there is an admittedly decent encounter before getting to Roxy Raceway, in which Steelwool takes from a mechanic that was popularized in Amnesia: The Dark Descent. All you have to do is make it to the end, but Monty is prowling in the waters beneath, and if you jump into the water, Monty will make a beeline towards you. Or at least he should, because in my unending wisdom, I managed to break the game! Which made what was supposed to be a tense scene of puzzle solving under a time limit just another generic puzzle to solve. But now we're in Roxy Raceway, and the titular character is looking a little bit worse for wear, and also has a lot of bad blood with Gregory after what he did in Security Breach. This is where the game brings back the mechanic from Five Nights at Freddy's 3, in which you're supposed to play a sound in another camera in Gregory's voice in order to attract Roxy there and clear the path due to the fact that she's now blind. Interestingly enough, at the end of this set piece, Roxy's demeanor completely changes when she hears Cassie's voice.
Give me back my eyes!
Ah! Let go! Let go!
I'm sorry.
I want to apologize.
We're more than halfway into the DLC, and it's only now that Cassie decides that it may have been a better idea to call the cops, to which Gregory says,
What? How is that supposed to help? There's no time. Fine.
Now, if it isn't obvious already, there may or may not be something wrong with the way Gregory's speaking. Gregory knows a little too much about the inner machinations of the Pizzaplex way after the fact. Something not right. The rest of the DLC is a lot of the same deal. Go into random areas of the ruined Pizzaplex and deactivate all of the security nodes attached to random areas, while avoiding the biblically accurate glitch trap that's constantly following you around. There are some frustrating segments, such as the Music Man segment, where you use the cameras once again to bait the music men into going to another area so you can deactivate the security node, and after that we go through the Doctor Who title sequence. And no, we don't go back in time, it's just a simple teleport into Vanny's room containing Excalibur. The significance of this I'll get to when we talk about the next game. Now we're in Fazablast and we finally find Glamrock Freddy. I thought he escaped with Gregory in the true ending. What's he doing here? I don't think he's supposed to be. Oh my god! This segment of the game is a more straightforward chase through Fazablast to the inhibitors that are limiting the abilities of the mask than the exit. I know I'm breezing through a lot of it, but the most important part is approaching. Cassie's back at Roxy Raceway and is given one last task: permanently deactivate Roxy, as she is the final security node. As I said before, Roxy's demeanor changes entirely upon seeing Cassie. The entirety of Security Breach, Roxy was cocky and aggressive, which comes back to bite her in the funniest way possible. Whereas in Ruin, Roxy's a lot gentler and nicer to Cassie. It's a nice moment between the two where Roxy mentions that she remembers Cassie's birthday parties. Unfortunately, the game doesn't let you continue if you don't do the deed, so the last thing to do is deactivate Roxy, which is a suspiciously easy puzzle compared to the ones you got at this point in the game. At this point, it's very obvious that Gregory isn't actually Gregory. So what is he? Well, to answer the question, Cassie has to venture back downstairs to the destroyed pizzeria. Okay, you might need some context here. Remember the true ending of Security Breach where Burntrap gets yoinked by this thing? During the boss fight, if you scare Roxy away, there's a chance that tentacles could come through from this creature. This creature used to be known as the Blob, but in an information book published a little while later, it was identified as Tangle. It strongly implied that Tangle tried to dig itself out of the crumbling pizzeria, and it caused an earthquake which damaged the rest of the Pizzaplex. Gregory explains this earlier in the DLC, and at the very start, the newspaper surrounding it mentioned an earthquake being the reason for closure. Now, once Cassie gets back to the room in which the original boss fight occurred, you'll see a huge server box of some sort titled MXES. This right here is the central security box for the entire Pizzaplex, and it turns out that the entire game, you've been Bioshocked! Because you've spent the entire DLC deactivating all of the security nodes that kept whatever was here hidden from the masses. The biblically accurate glitch was trying to prevent you from accessing all of this, and after finally reaching the area where Gregory was supposed to be, something different is there.
You saved me.
Gregory?
I'm Gregory. I'm Gregory.
How did you get here? Our final challenge is to escape from whatever this creature is. Now I'm gonna quickly stop here. Playing this game scrambled my brain so bad that I completely forgot to mention that this game has one of the biggest possible pet peeves ever. Remember the corpse party syndrome I talked about in Sister Location? Well, this game is straight up worse about that fact because you're probably not going to know what the hell this creature is unless you read the fucking books! I don't really want to go into detail about it, but after the release of Security Breach, several books were written and they're set in and around the Pizzaplex with the title fittingly named Tales from the Pizzaplex. Reason why I'm mentioning this now is because this creature is supposed to be one of the most important new characters in the entire franchise, and I find it absolutely batshit insane that you are now forced to do some external revision to understand where the hell this thing came from. It's also mental that this game essentially retconned the hell out of the base game. So what the hell was the point of the past hour of this video? Anyway, sorry for jumping in from the future. Enjoy the rest of the DLC. Identified later as the Mimic, it gives chase and you're supposed to follow the real Gregory's directions to get the hell out of there. Upon escaping though, the real Gregory informs Cassie that whatever was trapped down there was never supposed to be free. In fact, she was never supposed to even go to the Pizzaplex in the first place. And as a result, she gets punished for falling for it. This is one of 3 separate endings you can get in the DLC. But I felt it prudent to talk about the standard ending more than anything because that pushes the franchise forward. Now, when Ruin was released, a lot of fans loved it. I was still kind of jaded, but I can admit freely that this game somewhat managed to polish the turd that was the base game. The bar is in hell right now. I think my main issue with Ruin is that this free DLC has so much more source than the base game, you're probably going to set yourself up for eternal disappointment going back to replay the original game after playing Ruin. Steelwool successfully managed to maintain the same tone throughout the DLC, and one of the most positive things I could say about it is the fact that they at least tried to make the game frightening. Whether or not they actually succeeded is really debatable, what with them spamming jump scares like a James Wan movie. The destroyed Pizzaplex helped a lot, but the much smaller scale, the more damaged animatronics, and the fact that you aren't armed with anything, forcing you to have to hide or be stealthy, meant the game could get pretty intense. The inclusion of the Faz Wrench also meant that there were actual puzzles to solve in the DLC compared to the only remotely challenging thing in the base game being Simon Says with Glamrock Freddy. Ruin also benefited from a more linear story progression. Unlike the base game, the entire game auto-saved after specific segments, which kept you on track instead of having to backtrack sometimes to the other side of the entire Pizzaplex just to get a manual save. Which also meant that getting caught by any of the animatronics was much more forgiving this time around. Although they may have overcompensated a little too much with regards to making Ruin more linear than the base game, to the point that there are several scenes in the game where developers throw random scripted sequences in which characters you could have sworn were somewhere else randomly appear in front of you, accompanied by another dramatic sting. I think this is most egregious towards the end of the game, where the developers treat you like you're an idiot and literally have Gregory tell you exactly what direction you have to go to prevent yourself from getting caught. Like, come on, seriously? While there were some weird story beats in this installment, it also felt more coherent than Security Breach. And it turns out the reason why this is the case is because Steelwool just can't cook without scotch. In a 2024 interview with Dorco as part of the franchise's 10th anniversary, Scott himself mentioned that Security Breach was partially his fault because he gave Steelwool very vague information to work with, which forced them to try and figure out the story themselves. Why would you do that? My brother in Christ, it's literally your own game. Why would you not give the developers the full picture? Also, that makes Steelwool look worse because you're basically saying that none of their writers are competent enough to write a coherent story from beginning to end. In that same interview, he claimed that Ruin redeemed Security Breach, and I disagree with that.
Whoa!
I think Ruin on its own is an improvement over Security Breach, but if the bar is so underground it's shot back out into orbit from the other side, having something playable would seem like the second coming of Christ. I think Ruin on its own is a solid short FNAF free roam story. It doesn't really do much to enhance the story in Security Breach. In fact, you could probably just watch a recap of the events of Security Breach to familiarize yourself with the characters and then jump right into Ruin separately. Best narrative experience? What narrative? With all that being said though, it was an interesting DLC, and that ends the Security Breach saga. But that's not the only thing that Steelwool were releasing that year, because a couple of months later, they came back with... Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted 2 was released on December 14th, 2023, and this game was being developed at the same time as the Ruin DLC for Security Breach. This game came as a surprise to many because we already sort of knew that Ruin was being developed by Steelwool, but on May 24th, 2023, Steelwool surprised everyone with this trailer during the PlayStation Showcase.
Welcome back for another week of career fulfillment and minimal social interaction. We know how challenging it can be to find a place where you feel that you truly belong, and to find a job that treats you mostly with respect and only infrequently with contempt.
The trailer instantly addressed one of the concerns fans would have had before the game even released, and it showed that Sister Location was going to get the RTX treatment, just like the original quadrilogy of Scott-made FNAF games. And judging by just how stacked Sister Location was when I talked about it previously, I have my work cut out for me yet again. When you load into the game for the very first time, you're dropped into the least intense job interview. Instead of the calm but unnerving atmosphere that the first game slowly dropped you into, this game ditches all of that and decides to attack your ears instead. This title screen is mainly focused on the animatronics that weren't highlighted that much in the first installment, either because they were skipped over or they just didn't exist yet. Once you actually start the game though, you're given some exposition once again by Hand Unit. This game is very different to the first, as this one seems to take place in universe and doesn't have the metafictional aspects the original game did. Yeah, you like that callback, yeah. The intro cutscene is pretty much lifted straight out of Pizzeria Simulator, recycling the same visuals that were used to introduce the franchisee of Fazbear Entertainment, but repackaged to provide an introduction for whoever we're playing as, who seems to have gotten a job in this economy somehow, working for a company with as many skeletons in their closet as Fazbear Entertainment. I guess you win some and you lose some as long as the outcome is income, am I right? After the job introduction, you're finally allowed into the restaurant once again, and for those of you guys curious on how the game looks to play, I've brought back the Thaf Cam for your viewing enjoyment. The layout of the game is similar to the original, in that all the game modes you're given in the game are on a monitor. However, unlike the big buttons and previews you're given in Help Wanted 1, Fazbear Entertainment finally activates their Windows installation, as Help Wanted 2 separates each of the different game modes into folders on a brand new desktop. And they're even color-coded for convenience, something Windows still is unable to do in enormous 2025. You are also given more freedom to walk around the restaurant, and by walk, I mean teleport, but there's several locations around this dining room where you can look at rundown arcade machines and more. There's a still working machine dedicated to an animatronic named Mystic Hippo, which unfortunately I wasn't able to get footage of because this was a PlayStation exclusive product. See, like I said before, I was smart enough to part with my money on a PS5. However, I didn't really foresee them making a new VR headset for a console that doesn't have many games. This turned out to be one of those games. The PSVR 2 offers a variety of features that other headsets can't do, most specifically the eye tracking feature, which is what Mystic Hippo utilizes, so once again, I'm locked out of the absolute full experience because I got the superior VR headset. Thanks, David! Now, as the promo material made obvious, Sister Location was going to be covered in this game, but they did it in a slightly different way than you'd expect. It's not actually a one-to-one adaptation of everything surrounding Sister Location, or else the game would be extremely bloated. And it's not just Sister Location levels that are included in the package. I mean, the game does need to justify its price tag, so there are a lot of brand new game modes that utilize the medium of VR. And they are split into different folders concerning different areas of the Pizzaplex with different game modes within. Since I've covered a lot of the mechanics when I talked about the original game, and there are a grand total of 40 playable levels in this game, I think it's time to return to something that I haven't really done since the previous part. Yes, we are back. Methinks it's time for another lightning round! We begin by immediately going backstage for some maintenance. The first of many moments of maintenance I'm going to mention in this motion picture. We have been granted VIP access to the backstage section of the Pizzaplex, and we are tasked with helping select animatronics either prepare for their performance or just have fun with them. Wait, that came out wrong. The first animatronic we meet in the game is the daycare attendant, and our task is simple. We've been cast in the newest season of Art Attack, and we have to fill out a page from a coloring book Fazbear Entertainment purchased from The Works. We're given a blicky, and we're supposed to use it to shoot various targets around the daycare. Those targets being a paintbrush to do our job. On the left-hand side is some paint buckets with different colors of paint, and on the right-hand side is the work of art we're supposed to replicate. The gameplay here is pretty simple. Copy what you see on the screen, no matter what. There are some cases that the screen will emit static, but that's only there to throw you off. This specific game mode forces you to learn some key stage 1 color theory, as in some cases you're required to mix the paint to make another color. If you're playing this game and you're colorblind, first off, secondly, you don't need to worry, because the game also marks each of the paint buckets with numbers. These numbers correspond to the digits on the example screen, as instead of knowing your color theory, all you now need to know is simple math. Some of the colors on the screen directly match the numbers on the buckets, but in cases you need to mix colors together, you just need to make sure that the sum of the paint bucket numbers matches the numbers on the example. Once you're done, the daycare attendant will look at your hard work and shred it. But the job is not done, because now you're tasked with creating paper pals, and this is where you need to have decent aim, because you need to shoot various targets corresponding to the items you need to stick onto the paper pal. Okay, seriously, who's the target audience for this? What are some of these designs? Are we trying to traumatize them? Once you're done creating the paper pal, the daycare attendant will shred it again. And your final task combines everything you've done so far, as now you need to create the paper pal and paint it within a set time limit. If you run out of time, you get jump scared. And it also may not help that the paper pals are very sensitive to any form of grabbing with your VR controller. As they're all physics objects, you could make like temper tea and swipe them all off the desk by complete accident. You also have to worry about the brightness in the area, because it dims when you get to this point, and if you take too long, the game is over. But if you do end up completing it, congratulations, you've won! This has now unlocked the next gameplay style, which is the Makeup Salon. You've been promoted from Art Attack to the Premier League of Fashion, also known as the Met Gala, and your next opponents are the Staff Bots and Roxanne herself. In these game modes, you need to prepare these bots for showtime, and you're armed with a monitor that tells you exactly what you need to do. You're given a makeup palette, and all you need to do is match the colors and patterns on the screen with the robots you're given a makeover. Afterwards, you're also given a set of Staff Bot mannequins with accessories on them, and you need to use the computer screen to match the accessories and style up the bots. Obviously, this is a Freddy Fazbear product, so there have to be issues. We've been dealing with the FFCMO for so long, I will literally give everyone watching this video $1 billion Great British Pounds sterling if there turns out to be a Freddy Fazbear related location with no issues whatsoever. Because in some cases, as you're applying the makeup, the computer decides that maybe Windows Defender will be better off if it wasn't on. This gives a perfect opportunity for Glitch Trap to show up for the first time in a few years and obfuscate your instructions, leaving you a sitting duck if you didn't memorize the makeup combination or you have ADHD and got distracted. If you end up getting the combination wrong or you run out of time, the bots end up jumping you. Now, Roxanne's version of this game mode is pretty much exactly the same, but with one key difference that links back to her character traits. In a complete opposite to SCP-096, Roxanne demands your attention at any moment. This becomes an extremely big issue because you need to look to the left and to the right to do your job. All the while, Roxanne gets increasingly angry if you don't pay attention to her. What you're supposed to do is keep Roxanne in your field of vision throughout the makeup session, as she has an anger meter on the computer monitor. If you ignore her for too long, you get speared to the ground, so you need to keep a singular eye on her while you're applying your makeup. She'll change her mind several times after completing a specific style, just like a typical woman. Style up Roxanne enough times and she's ready for her performance. We're only 2
2 game modes in, and there's a lot more variety in gameplay style in this game compared to the previous installment, where most of the major gameplay styles were just higher quality versions of the original Click Team games. I kind of appreciate the fact that they're showcasing the type of things you could get up to on a normal day in the Pizzaplex, which leads us into the Fazcade. This is where the VR nature of the game really shines, as there are a lot of game modes in the Fazcade that require slightly more activity than the usual, starting with Bonkabon. This one is pretty simple. It's essentially just whack-a-mole, but the moles in question are bunnies, the bunnies being Bonnie and Bonnie being split into 2 entities representing the 2 clans in Tunatic, boys and girls. Although I think a comment needs to be made about the fact that bashing Bonnet's head in nets you more points than bashing Bonbon's cranium to dust. Why doesn't Bonbon net equal amount of points? What is this utter woke? Obviously, you can't just go ham on the whack-a-mole machine as if you're playing Beat Saber on acid, because Helpy can show up. Helpy returns from the previous FNAF games, and if you hit him, he subtracts a whopping 3 points from your total score. From this, all you really have to do is play until you reach a certain threshold. Now, this sounds pretty easy, and for me, it was pretty easy. I tend to be pretty good at bashing electronics in, if I do say so myself. The game recognizes this, as the next rounds are a bit more difficult. More holes are made available for you to track, but plush babies make a return in this game, and while Help Wanted 2 is generous in giving you 5 points to bash them in, you have to hit them 3 times for it to count. In the rush to bash all the bots in, you may end up forgetting this, and if you keep them active for too long, you get awarded with a jump scare. No! Also, I do find it funny that you can bash all the light bulbs in and you do get an achievement for that. I love games that condone structural damage. Moving on to the next gameplay style. I've mentioned gameplay styles a lot in this video. This is a far cry from the original games where the mechanics are exactly the same but faster. I think that's pretty cool, if not for the fact that talking about them makes this video a lot longer. The next animatronic we're getting acquainted with is none other than DJ Music Man. This animatronic's creepy as hell. How is this something that kids are gonna look at and think they want to be a music producer? This game mode is like producing an entire album in 12 hours at gunpoint. Let me break it down for you.
So, we've downloaded a copy of Fusion. We've downloaded it from a trustworthy source. I'm just gonna give him a ski mask. Alright, so we've got to where we're supposed to actually drop stuff.
Unfortunately, I'm not talented, so here's Akai reacting to an actually decent remix. As for this game mode, you are now the DJ, as Music Man will give you a beat that you need to copy to the note. On paper, this sounds difficult as hell. It's like someone using Ableton for the first time. What the fuck is all this? What the fuck? But the game is not that hard. You're given a series of dials in front of you, and the dials correspond to the graphics on the small screen. Your mission is to use the dials to match the graphic that DJ Music Man sent to you. It's essentially a memory game, as you can replay the example and you just have to match it each time, with different graphics corresponding to different parts of the beat, which I think is a cool attention to detail. This is the first game mode that has multiple different difficulty levels, and as the difficulties increase, different things start happening, such as you requiring to make more beats and mini Music Men around the place forcing you to flash them.
Because the mini men like to be flashed.
But once you're done, you can vibe with Music Man and move on to the next style of gameplay. Turns out Fazbear Entertainment didn't go entirely through with complete bunny erasure, as Bonnie Bowl is actually functional. I mean, there's not much to report with this game. It is just bowling. Granted, there are a few random obstacles that could ruin your experience, but it really is just weightless bowling, so I don't really have much to say other than, get good. The last gameplay style in the Fazcade brings back another game mode from Security Breach with a VR sheen to it. Fazablast is now playable, but instead of the capture the flag gameplay in Security Breach, now it functions like target practice. There are a bunch of levels included, and each of them have a very distinct themes and mechanics, getting more difficult as you continue playing, from shooting targets with the Fazablaster to throwing balls at bigger targets. You need to make like Prime Luke Littler, because you're given a score threshold, and if you don't reach that threshold, the game is over. And it doesn't help that sometimes plush babies will show up around the play area and you need to leng a ball at them to prevent them from getting closer. Apart from that though, it is indeed your standard Fazablast fare. So that was enjoyable, wasn't it? We've covered a lot of ground in such a short amount of time and we are nowhere near done with the game. I am very sorry, future editing me. But you may have noticed around the dining area of the pizzeria, there are several sections we can visit. And there's an ominous door in the naughty corner of the room. Once you go to this door, you will notice a very familiar contraption from a DLC we talked about a couple of minutes ago. Well, we can't use it just yet since we don't have a fast range, so we'll leave that for now and finish talking about the new gameplay styles this game has to offer. Food prep is the next major section of Help Wanted 2, and luckily there isn't much differentiating the major game modes within this section, but I found this part to actually be pretty fun. Essentially, you've now got a job at your local fast food joint, and throughout the game modes you have to prepare scran for the staff bots that are waiting patiently for their order. Not gonna lie though, this place definitely needs more cooks in the kitchen because what are we feeding these people? Is this supposed to be edible? It looks like we left the oven for way too long. This is disgusting. If you ate this, then you'd probably get sent straight down to hell, and then they'd send you back up for another go because they felt so bad. As the rushes continue, you'll be asked to add more things such as nacho cheese, hot sauce, or guacamole to your order. Sometimes they make you add all three, and even some drinks to help stomach the abominations we're handing out. In food prep, the staff bots are your main opponent, but Glamrock Chica pops up in a level. She wants the scran more than anyone, and once she completes an order, she scarfs it down. You better hope you didn't get the order wrong because she'll write a very strongly worded letter to upper management about your conduct. Food prep is a pretty fun section of the game, and I appreciate the variety in Help Wanted 2 thus far. One of the most common tropes in indie horror games, especially nowadays, is the trope of working retail. You'll notice this a lot with indie horror games that prop up on the old reliable Itch.io and Game Jolt. The scariest thing known to man isn't ghosts or zombies or the existential dread of what could be after the end. It's just clocking into Mackey's on a school holiday. Each of the game modes in food prep give you a strict time limit that you must follow, and even though the gameplay can be boiled down to pressing buttons over and over again, this one requires a little more than just searching through cameras. You have to get recipes correct, make sure you have the right condiments and more, and I really do appreciate that from the devs. But let's now go to the final new gameplay styles for now, which are located in none other than staff only is the closest you're going to get to the classic Help Wanted experience, as game modes such as parts and service make a return, but it is only Glamrock Freddy that receives your care this time. The other animatronics are simply too good for you. Sorry. Instead of hand units holding your hand and giving you several units of instructions, now you're basically given next to nothing. Freddy's frozen in the room, and our job is to free the cake that's stuck in his stomach hatch. This game mode gives you a little bit more to do compared to your typical parts and service routine in the first game, from finding a way to open up Freddy's arms, to replacing the batteries and activating a button that gave me one of the funniest moments in the game. Sorry. Boobs! The difficulty comes with making sure that Freddy's temperature is at a manageable level, as doing things out of order or leaving springs to heat up for too long will end your shift on a permanent level. Now, let me take you back in time to something I mentioned in the previous part. So you get given 5 attempts to jump in the pit, and god damn it, I missed. At least I get another attempt. I think he's dead. Well, we now have an opportunity to save him. The next game mode is something I'm really surprised hasn't been addressed at all by Fazbear Entertainment. Those lawsuits by Purawammer really must have taken its toll on the company, because we can finally commence some first aid training, also known as FATS. We're back in an office that looks kind of similar to the office from Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator, complete with the vents on either side, which means that you must not make any noise in this game mode. This is a problem because Helpy is very injury prone. Each of the game modes require you to diagnose the issue with Helpy and fix them using the various medical tools at your disposal, like a hammer of course. If you end up cosplaying the TF2 medic with no Uber charge in your arsenal, Helpy will scream in agony as you're attempting to fix him up, which will attract certain animatronics through the vents. To combat this, you're given a mask full of calming gas that will calm Helpy down, but you have to do this quick or else it's a game over. Hi, oh my god, that's new. Who the fuck are you? That's not even the only issue you have to deal with. As it turns out, Fazbear Entertainment really did take that Raid Shadow Legends deal, as advertisements can and will show up on the telly, forcing you to use the remote to turn them off before an animatronic blitzes into the room. The last somewhat new gameplay style occurs in the next level, the worst level in the entire game. Fizzy Faz. Man, I don't know what weapon decided that this level should be included in the game. Yeah, it's funnish, but it's definitely the most BS hard of the lots. Essentially, it mixes the food prep gameplay with your standard FNAF fare, as you're supposed to make drinks in the set combination on a screen in front of you. You also need to make sure that the staff bots are working to get you the ingredients you need, which include things like salt. Salt!
in a drink! The game mode gives you options to give staff bots breaks, unlike a certain mass conglomerate. And as the nights continue, giving breaks is imperative because the bots could end up striking and can also murder you if you keep mistreating them.
Well, I think a couple of workers could use a lesson from this game, actually.
In later nights, you can also speed up the working process, but this also increases the likelihood of the bots trying to find a way into your office. In some cases, the main staff bot will even give you his own orders as well as the orders you're given on the screen, and you have to complete those to finish the night. I hate this level. I hate this level. It took me so bloody long to complete the levels because the amount of fizzy faz you need to make differs with each attempt. Anyway, that concludes the staff-only levels, which leaves us with two major sections of the game before the big twist. There's not really much to report with regards to Ticket Booth, as both these game modes are similar to game modes we got in the first Help Wanted game, with a more elaborate log ride from Captain Foxy, including some secret sections similar to the first game, and a carousel, similar to the vent repairs, where you're challenged with fixing the carousel while Moon crawls around the place. You're supposed to shine your flashlight at his face to prevent him from getting near, and at the end of that game mode, there is a 60-second stint in which you must simply survive while everything in the carousel is moving about. But finally, we can move on to the sister location levels in Help Wanted 2. Not everything in sister location could be adapted over, but Steelwool did a damn good job in porting some of the major gameplay styles from sister location into Help Wanted 2. Since parts and service was already done to death, the two levels they ported over are the Ballora Gallery level and the Breaker Room, both of which are from the second night in sister location. Since even more control is given to you in Help Wanted 2 as opposed to just clicking around and stopping if you hear Ballora, the level has some more challenges you need to face. At random points in the level, mini-renas can come waltzing in from the darkness, and they will essentially knock your location to Ballora, who will make a beeline for you and kick you in the face if you're unlucky. In order to deal with these mini-renas, you could simply just crawl past them, making sure to stop if you hear Ballora's music. Alternatively, you can grab them and leng them really far away from you, which could bait Ballora into going to that location. You have 6 minutes to make it to the end, and luckily there is no hand unit to blow your speakers up if you take longer than 20 seconds to complete the whole damn thing. Since the game also brings in the X-axis to the mix, you also have the option to crawl left or right. And you could try and cheat the game by crawling really far to the left or to the right to avoid Ballora spawning in and getting you. Except you can't, because the Biddy Babs from sister location will jump you instead. This level was pretty difficult to beat, but unfortunately, old habits die hard with regards to Steelwool, as the level completely broke for me, allowing me to get past Ballora extremely easy as she glitched into the wall. Thanks for that, Unreal Engine! Making it past Ballora Gallery will unlock the Breaker Room, and once again, this is the same gameplay as sister location, where you're supposed to reboot certain sections of the facility that have been taken offline. Funtime Freddy stays in the corner, and you're supposed to use the megaphone provided to you to get him to stay as far away from you as possible. The game strays away from having to rely on pressing buttons on a monitor and utilizes the fact that it's in VR, as there are levers you need to pull to bring the areas back online. However, not only do these levers make noise, sometimes you have to pull 2 of them to get the facility back in working condition again, while Funtime Freddy is hunting you down. Completing those unlocks the final major levels of sister location, the office levels. After what seems like a million years, the game finally gives us classic FNAF gameplay! Somewhat. These levels are essentially the custom nights in the similarly named update to sister location, with different opponents each night. The first opponent is Ennard, and surprisingly, it actually wasn't that hard compared to the original. I was expecting a lot worse after what we had to deal with in sister location. The game adds a lot of quality of life changes to the office, including the fact that the cameras don't take up power, making that part of the gameplay loop a lot easier to deal with. Similarly, the game for some reason decides to make things a piece of piss by blaring a really loud scare chord every time the opposing animatronic gets near to the door, which completely deletes a lot of the tension, as now you're pretty much ready for whatever the game throws at you. I really don't understand this design choice, as part of the difficulty of sister location's office levels were the uncertainty of an animatronic busting in. Maybe this is supposed to be a callback to the scare chords in the original FNAF game, but it really felt unneeded and made the Ennard night a complete yoke. All you need to do is survive until 6 AM, and once you do, we can call ourselves done with Help Wanted 2. Not! Now, if there's something you may have noticed throughout this lightning round, game's really not that scary. It was one of the first things I commented on with regards to the first Help Wanted game, but it really feels like the scare factors just evaporated from these games entirely. The games actually felt fun. I mean, they're supposed to be fun, but I didn't really get the stressed out vibe that I got from the first game. Maybe I'm just jaded, but most of the game modes in Help Wanted 2 are original and haven't been done before in the franchise, and none of them really jumped out at me as being terrifying, especially compared to the first game. Well, the game kind of rectifies that a little with its own iteration of Blacklight mode. Remember earlier in the game we saw that contraption that was in the Ruin DLC? Well, after completing a certain amount of levels in this game, we are finally given a Faz wrench which we can use to open whatever's behind this door. And behind this door is a Princess Quest arcade machine and a power inhibitor. This thing was featured as a gameplay mechanic in Ruin and prevented Cassie from taking off her Wait a second. Wait a minute! Turning off the power inhibitor allows us to finally take off the mask we were wearing the entire time! Taking off the mask shows us where we really are. And it's exactly the same place, but ruined. Now, while we were selecting some of the levels in Help Wanted 2, you may have noticed that some of them were barred from entry with a glitch trap symbol showing up sometimes. Well, the mask was the reason why, as once the mask is off, these levels are made available to us, and these are basically the Blacklight levels of Help Wanted 2. Each of the game modes are more difficult versions of what we already played thus far. Now, I'm definitely not gonna cover all of them because, I mean, like, look at the bottom of the screen. Look how long this video is. I'm sure you get the gist by now, but I wanted to talk about some levels that weren't included in the previous package. The first key difference between a lot of these levels is that most of the animatronics that show up tend to be the shattered versions of the animatronics, which clues you in on the fact that this game actually takes place after the event of Security Breach. This theory is also assisted by a line that Roxy says after attempting to put makeup on that. This game mode is exactly the same as the original, but now Roxy gets a lot more agitated a lot quicker, and you have to use a walkie-talkie to play her own voice lines back at her so she calms down. Upon completing this game mode, you get this line from Roxy.
It's fine. Now leave me alone. I need to think. Where could he be hiding?
It doesn't take a genius to know that she is obviously referring to Gregory. That little menace! A lot of the gameplay in the hard mode levels of Help Wanted 2 boils down to slightly more difficult versions of what you already played. For example, 3 more busy Faz levels! I hate this level so much! Ah! Food prep parks you at the Fazbear Theatre, where you're tasked with making scran once again. But the recipes are a lot more elaborate, requiring you to do things like mix soda and meat. But bro, we might as well, you know what? We might as well start feeding these kids literal shit at this point. Glamrock Chica is in a shattered form, and the game finally adds endoskeletons into the mix. You're given a Faz camera, and while you're preparing scran, some of the endoskeletons are going to start heading towards you, using the same mechanic from Security Breach and the Joy of Creation, where not looking at them gives them an opportunity to move. If they get too close, all you have to do is flash them and they'll reset. The endoskeletons also return in an exclusively hard mode level where you're teaching a baby endoskeleton how to match colors and symbols. This game mode is pretty simple, but it requires you to have either good memory or good reflexes, as this place is littered with endoskeletons that will rush you if you don't flash them. And as for Sister Location, the hard mode levels are even more variants of the Custom Night, as the first 2 are pretty simple. Prevent Ballora from getting into the office, but in some cases mini-arenas will block the buttons, forcing you to throw them off in order to keep Ballora out, and Biddy Babs will try to run the power down, forcing you to use a controlled shock. The final major level of the game is a job interview with Circus Baby and the Plush Babies. That sounds like a band name. This specific level gives you 3 mini levels within, and all you have to do is survive the job interview. It's pretty simple. There's red light, green light, there's hide and seek, and there's flashlight tag, which is a callback to their original appearance in Help Wanted, utilizing the Boogeyman gameplay. Now, after all of that, you can finally say that you are done. How can you tell that you're done? Well, throughout the game, you unlock these toys that are known as Faz Force toys. Your task in the game is to collect 6 of them, which will combine to form a Megazord and trigger the ending. There are other items that you can collect throughout the game, but most of them are purely cosmetic, such as the Fazza Blaster and the cannon you use to shoot big bollocks at targets at Captain Foxy's log ride. In order to actually get to the ending, you have to embark on the most perilous journey the game has thrown you so far. This journey will take you eons and will leave you a husk by the end of it. To get to the ending, what you must do is head to the stage and pick up the combined Faz Force toy. Yep, there's no pizza party like the original game, no level or anything. All you need to do is pick up the toy and the cutscene begins.
Okay, so this cutscene's a little bugged. I'm not entirely sure I'm supposed to spawn under the ground, but well, that's fair. So you're eventually bum rushed by a bunch of demonic staff bots anyway. Normally, this would be a regular game over, but in a huge twist, the game shows a booting up sequence similar to Freddy's one in Security Breach. And it turns out that we were turned into the map bot that gives Cassie the Vanny security mask in Ruin, which confirms this game as a midquel of Security Breach. Anyway, the game is over. Bye, everyone. But do you really think it's actually over? Yeah, there's another ending. Okay, now this one's a little bit different to the regular ending, and by a little bit different, it's very different, man. You may have noticed while playing through Help Wanted 2 that while you're going through these virtual experiences, someone has decided to litter graffiti around the dining area. The graffiti in this room corresponds to specific things that you have to do in a set game mode to get closer to this secret ending. For example, in the food prep level, throwing away all the items associated with Chica into the trash will award you with a plushie. These plushies are referred to as memories, and they are all in random levels around Help Wanted 2. The requirements to get them are completely different and out of left field, but after collecting 6 memory plushies, you are given a corrupted Faz token that can be used to play the arcade machine in the room next to the naughty corner. This game is known as Princess Quest, and I think it may be time to go on a little bit of a tangent. Princess Quest is a game within a game that Steelwool conjured up starting at the mobile port of the first Help Wanted game, but really elaborating on in Security Breach. It's essentially a dungeon crawler game where you're playing as the titular princess and all you have to do is unlock doors, chests, and more while fighting off these weird glitch trap creatures around the place. Princess Quest is located all around the Pizzaplex, and there is a secret ending in Security Breach should you unlock and complete all the Princess Quest arcade games, including one in Vanny's hideout. Help Wanted 2 contains the 4th installment of Princess Quest, and it plays similar to the Security Breach versions, with you controlling the princess and unlocking a bunch of doors. But then there's a twist. That's our arcade machine. That's us. So who's behind us? This ending takes Princess Quest and converts it into VR. Now we are in the game, and while it uses teleport locomotion again, we can actually swing the sword in VR and deal damage to these weird glitch trap-like creatures. Apart from that, the gameplay is exactly the same as the standard Princess Quest, with you going through several rooms and solving puzzles until the end of the game throws another spanner in the works. An old geezer who was seen in previous installments of Princess Quest is at the end of a hallway and offers us a Steam Marketplace trade. Our Vanny mask for a glitch trap plushie. It's after this we can go into the elevator, the same janky elevator from Sister Location. Once we get to the top, instead of making it out of this nightmare, oh my god, it's a giant Vanny! We've been turned into a marketable plushie, and Moon yoinks glitch trap from us. Vanny takes what was the plushie, and you'll notice it's turned into glitch trap. I wonder what's gonna happen this time around, considering glitch trap was such a big part in the first Help Wanted game. Maybe we'll find out more about glitch trap's connection to Vanny. Oh. Well, that sucks. But finally, Help Wanted 2 is over. When Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted 2 released, people mostly liked the game. I mean, if it wasn't made completely obvious by the fact that Help Wanted 1 reviewed so highly, it's clear that Steelwool's main calling is VR. It feels like the logical next step for FNAF, as the first game translated the mechanics from the original games extremely well, and the second game added some more activities across the new areas in the Pizzaplex. FNAF just kind of works in those scenarios, and there were nearly 50 playable levels within this game, which is insane compared to what we had when the franchise started. However, once again, there is a massive elephant in the room, and it's not just the price of entry, but it's something I've brought up previously. The game just isn't that scary. I don't know whether it's me getting older or something, but one thing I've noticed is that Five Nights at Freddy's games just don't have that scare factor to them anymore. And I don't think they really have had the same effect as the first couple of Five Nights at Freddy's games. I mean, people flocked to the original games not just because of the character designs and the gameplay loop, but it was the fact that the game was legitimately scary to play, at least the first time. The jump scares in the game were just an added bonus and the logical end game to being a bad gamer. And I feel like the newer mainline FNAF games have kind
kind of lost that feeling. I mean, Help Wanted 2 has a lot less spookiness to it even compared to the first game. All of the levels in the first game were pretty horrifying to play because they were based on the original FNAF games, with some added bonuses. I can't really think of any new level in Help Wanted 2 that's actually scary. The only part that felt frightening to me was the hard mode levels, and even then they weren't as stressful as the blacklight levels in the first game. All this to say, the game was enjoyable to play for the most part, but I really do miss when people actually refer to FNAF games as scary. Help Wanted 2 also received a flat screen version, but you all kind of already know my opinions on flat screen versions of VR only games. Several patches to this game were made over the next couple of months, culminating in a final update to the game at the end of 2024, teasing the next game in the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise, which as of writing this video, it's not out yet, but coming very soon. I mean, it's probably out by the time this video is out, which means that I am now officially caught up with the mainline Five Nights at Freddy's franchise. Actually, there's one more short thing. Five Nights at Freddy's Into the Pit was released on August 7th, 2024. Wait a second! Did I say 2024? Time for another tangent. A wild one, if you will. We've gone through the entire franchise over several years, and I bet you probably didn't even realize this date marks 10 years since the original Five Nights at Freddy's game was unleashed to the masses. I will get to gushing over this franchise after this chapter, but let's really put this in perspective. A game made on this engine that you could complete in less than 60 minutes had enough staying power and popularity to last 5,256,000 minutes. Nowadays, when we have horror games, they'll get a video from Manly Badass Hero 100%ing it, and then they'll get sent to the ether of video games that will eventually get a video essay recapping the plot 3 years later in exchange for no one playing the game themselves because the YouTuber already did it for them. For a franchise to last 10 years and outlast other franchises like Dead Space, okay, on a technicality, I know the first game got a remake, but that was after 8 years of nothing. I'm sure I'm gonna find other franchises. Five Nights at Freddy's has lasted longer than any edit, right, Duff?
Yeah, there's Condemned.
See, there we go.
Dickhead.
What'd you say?
Nothing.
The franchise lasting this longest cause for celebration, right? Well, in 2024, the FNAF fanbase ended up getting that from Scott himself. He ended up creating a Twitter account, as the original one he had that contained the relic that was the initial FNAF movie announcement tweet got suspended by the world's most divorced man. He would then use this account to promote the full celebration leading into the 10th anniversary of Five Nights at Freddy's. Among the many teasers of future projects was a game that was revealed to the masses as an adaptation of the very first book in the Fazbear Fright anthology series. Unfortunately though, this wasn't the first time we found out about this game. I fleetingly mentioned Fazbear Fright in the past, and I don't think it's really needed to go in a lot of detail about the series, especially considering there is some footage that the fans are very familiar with regard to a certain game theorist and pregnancy. Don't Google that, by the way. You're probably going to. Don't say I didn't warn you. Anyways, Fazbear Frights is a series of mystery anthology novels written by Scott Cawthon and a series of guest authors. There are 12 books in this series, and each of them contain 3 short stories, with Scott smoking some insane ganja and deciding not to specify whether these books are canon or not, as he's very all over the place with the timeline. We're not getting into that now. There are a ton of YouTubers who probably made their videos about it. Bookmark those for homework afterwards. The important part about all this is that the first book, Into the Pit, was released on December 26th, 2019. Soon after the release of the book, the game adaptation was being worked on. This was being done in secret, with the developers whittling away quietly at the game over the next couple of years. It was initially going to have an entire reveal, but then the publishers of the book, Scholastic, decided to leak the bloody thing 8 months early. And you know how FNAF FANS are with just a crumb of promotional material. Scott would confirm the game on Reddit and announce it as a 10th anniversary present among other things. Fast forward a couple of months later, and it's time to release the game to the masses. Then another cock-up happened. The initial release date was actually on the date of the 10th anniversary of FNAF, but due to an accidental early release on the Nintendo Switch of all consoles, the developers just went fuck it. Do it live! The game was released on August 7th, 2024, and it was time to see what was in the kitchen for so long. And boy, did they cook. If it wasn't obvious already, this game is very different to every single Five Nights at Freddy's game in this entire motion picture. It wasn't made by Scott, or Steelwool, or Illumix. Instead, a new challenger approached the franchise, and it was Mega Cat Studios. Now, I must preface what I'm about to say with a disclaimer. Mega Cat Studios did give me a free code to play Into the Pit, and I ended up playing the entire game on stream. You can watch my experience playing the game in the description, and it will show up around here. All this to say, this is the best FNAF game. I didn't even know it was possible for FNAF's coveted Atari 8-bit gameplay sequences to receive the RTX treatment, but somehow Mega Cat Studios made it work. The story in this game follows a kid named Oswald, a little boy who basically lives in Birmingham. He wishes that things weren't so boring around there. I mean, I don't blame him, it is Brum, but things apparently used to be better. There was a big mill that birthed the town and provided 95% of the jobs there, only for it to close down and screw the 95% over, which includes Oswald's dad. So now they're all broke as shit, and the family's idea for good scran is none other than Jeff's Pizza. It's literally the only one available for now, and it's definitely seen better days. Oswald, being the inquisitive little rascal he is, decides to go investigating and comes across a ball pit. Oh, not again! He then decides to jump into the pit, and he suddenly finds himself in the exact same building. But better! Turns out the ball pit has a wormhole that he can use to travel from 1985 to present day. As Oswald, you can look around this new old pizzeria and you'll quickly come to the realization that this is a Fazbear site. Look at the animatronics breaking it down on the stage. God damn! So Jeff's Pizza was rebuilt on the site of the former Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, which begs the question, what did happen to it? Well, that question is answered soon after a game of hide and seek with your new friends that are definitely going to survive the events of this game, as some commotion occurs and you encounter a piss-colored rabbit who motions for you to follow it. Obviously, since you are a child, you can go and investigate, which leads us to the first gameplay style and the most common one you'll encounter throughout the game: the chasers. This yellow rabbit, who is not an Afton as far as I can tell, will chase you upon seeing you, and it's your objective to escape as fast as you can. However, horror movie logic is very much on display here, as Oswald is programmed to trip over in random cases, which can screw you over. You're also tasked with finding hiding spots during said chases while ensuring this yellow rabbit doesn't see you enter the hiding place. The first section acts as a tutorial showing most of the mechanics you need to remember for the majority of the game, such as hiding and making as little noise as possible. Once you've ran back to the ball pit, you're quickly scolded by your dad, but once again, horror movie logic prevails as the yellow rabbit follows you out of the pit and kidnaps your father, insta-swapping him. Now the yellow rabbit is your dad, but the adults don't notice this. It's then up to you to figure out the mysteries behind the pizzeria and save your dad. The second and most important gameplay style for the rest of the game is displayed here, and it is stealth. Using games such as Clock Tower as influence, Into the Pit is very much a stealth game, as all the set pieces in this game require you to be as quiet as possible and not get detected by the yellow rabbit, and later on in the week, other animatronics. You have exactly 5 nights to uncover the mysteries behind the pizzerias, and I find it extremely insane that this game is the only game this entire video that you actually spend 5 nights at Freddy's! This game deserves an award for being legit. The game is split into several locations that you need to visit at some point throughout the week between your school, your household, and obviously the pizzeria. You're going to spend most of the gameplay between your household and the pizzeria, as Oswald's dad is very obviously not himself. Because he's been possessed by the yellow rabbit, each night you're tasked with finding a stealthy way out of the household. There are several exits and you need to be prepared to trek around your big-ass house to unlock them, as each night the exits you used get boarded up. Piss Rabbit is constantly looking for Oswald, so as Oswald, your job is to use distractions around the house to lure him to the room and juke around him to get away. A lot of the people who are probably looking at this game will most likely scoff at having to hide everywhere. Fucking Five Nights at Freddy's, the game's not that advanced, I can just infinitely run around the place. Well, that's just not possible, because if you get into a chase, the golden rabbit will suddenly ingest a speed potion and bomb it after you if the chase lasts too long. So hiding is imperative, and Mega Cat Studios added several hiding spots throughout each of the locations, each of them having very different mechanics, such as the yellow rabbit choosing which side to look at in the closet, forcing you to ensure you're leaning in the right direction, holding your breath when you see the bunny walk past, and swiping away in the right order to get rid of spiders in event. Once you get to the pizzeria, you're going to unfortunately become very familiar with the yellow rabbit's foot, as once you get into chases, there are tons of tables you can use as a cop-out, and the same scene will play of the yellow rabbit's feet going from left to right. Although you're not even safe in situations like that, because there are an off chance he can check under the tables, which will then require you to press a button quickly, or else you you get jump scared. The story in Into the Pit is pretty straightforward, so there's no need for me to go into detail about it, but the typical FNAF trope of things just getting more difficult as the nights progress is very prevalent here, with new places to explore and more opportunities for the Yellow Rabbit and other animatronics to get the drop on you. There's not much really to say about the gameplay that I haven't already said, so I'll leave most of that there, but I really want to sing this game's praises for once. Into the Pit is one of, if not the best FNAF game that has been released, and I don't think I'm alone in saying that, as the Metacritic score and the Steam score put this game on an extremely high pedestal compared to even the original games. I think it just helped that the game's narrative wasn't overly convoluted like the mainline FNAF games, and it was a simple, linear story about a child trying to save their father from a creepy antagonist. I think this kind of vibe is where future FNAF games can probably shine, because at this point, I guarantee you a lot of people aren't exactly that wired into the lore, considering just how retcons and story beats have gone nowhere as the franchise has continued. Into the Pit being a simple adaptation of a short story gives the developers a lot of freedom to put their own spin on the story, especially with regards to the gameplay loop. And I think Into the Pit's gameplay loop is among the best the franchise has ever seen. The game split into 5 nights and it doesn't feel like a drag at all. There are several locations Oswald has to visit throughout the duration of the game, and he has to somehow go to school every day while dealing with this mystery. Splitting the stealth sections of the game to the household and the pizzeria with some really good sound design also helps to increase the tension, as Oswald isn't even safe in his own home, and he's apparently the only one who can even see what's wrong with his own dad, adding an emotional layer to his motivations in this game. And don't even get me started on the visuals. I said it before, but I need to say it again. It is actual insanity that a franchise with cutscenes like this spawned a game that looked like this. Each of the environments in the game are extremely well made and detailed. I love the effort that was put into the animations of each of the animatronics, the human characters and the Yellow Rabbit. I'm sure that this is brought up a lot with the context of Into the Pit, but the art direction is outstanding. It manages to mix the bright and colorful neon lights and screen lights from the arcade machines with the detailed rundown aesthetic of Jeff's Pizza, as well as the dark and gritty tone of the game, all things considered. None of the visuals felt out of place whatsoever, and it's a testament to how much must have gone into the production of the game. If there is something that I would criticize the game for, it's the fact that while some of the jump scares are very well animated, the game does rely a lot on the sudden loud noise equals scary gambit. There are several moments towards the end of the game where an image will pop up with a loud scare code that's to do with your sanity level. I mean, it's startling, but literally anyone can do that. But that's really a small pet peeve I have about the game. I don't want to talk around in circles and in more detail because I think this game is perfect for people who don't even care too much about FNAF. It's that enjoyable to play. But it has been long enough. My shift's about to end, and I think it's time we start to pull the curtain on this entire operation. Five Nights at Freddy's as a franchise is over 10 years old. 10 years is a very long time for a franchise to last for, especially considering the games were just silly point-and-click horror games with similar mechanics. Even through all the ups and downs, it has been incredibly fun looking into the franchise and seeing just how much things changed, from the carpal tunnel simulators of old to the buggy but elaborate Unreal Engine project files. This game has undoubtedly kickstarted the careers of so many different developers with fan games like Five Nights at Candy's, Treasure Island, and more. I'm pretty sure a lot of developers and content creators can owe their career to Scott Cawthon's Hail Mary. Just the fact that Five Nights at Freddy's was Scott's final attempt at game dev before throwing in the towel is pretty inspiring, to say the least. He was this close to giving up, and some people would probably say it may have been a good thing if he did. But he didn't, and managed to turn things around into a multi-million-dollar franchise that any independent game developer would dream of. That's like clutching a 30v1 on Mirage and all you have is a Negev. 10 years later, and the franchise is still going strong, even through several controversies and off years. The 10-year anniversary celebration for FNAF itself teased a bunch of new things, such as a demo for a remake of The Joy of Creation, FNAF Into the Pit, as I've said before, and at the time, a secret collaboration. There was a significant amount of people who believed the collaboration was with Fortnite, which speaks volumes to how big the franchise has gotten. It didn't seem out of left field that it could be a Fortnite crossover, so when it wasn't, people were a bit upset.
The collaboration turned out to be with Dead by Daylight, which definitely excited the 3 people that still solo queue on that game and enjoy it. The Five Nights at Freddy's DLC for Dead by Daylight was released on the 17th of June 2025 and included Springtrap as a killer, as well as a new map centered around the pizzeria. Funnily enough, they ended up using the movie as a point of reference as opposed to the games, and I think it worked in its favor. They even included Matthew Lillard's William Afton depiction as a variant of Springtrap in the game. And I even have a hot take. I really do think the Dead by Daylight crossover is among the best, if not the best depiction of Springtrap in the entire franchise. And yes, I am including FNAF 3. I played a fair bit of it, and I actually found myself enjoying DBD for once. Isn't that crazy? FNAF managing to get not 1, but 2 movies and counting after years and years of development hell is also pretty impressive. The first movie may not be a masterpiece or anything, but the work done by the Jim Henson Creature Shop to bring these animatronics to life cannot be overstated. It boggles my mind that this game, managed to birth such an expansive franchise. But at the risk of going around in circles, I think it's best we cap things off here. I know there are always going to be future games in the franchise. I don't see it ending anytime soon with the wealth of books, spin-offs, and games to make content from. But for me, I think I've done enough. This has been an over 4-year look into the franchise, and I also know that I probably missed some small details and extra stuff in the timeline, but I think this is the most comprehensive retrospective on the franchise I could conjure up. Thank you for joining me on this journey, and I think it's time for me to take a very long walk. Wait, let me get that. Orange?
Dude, you realize you're not done yet, right? There's still more. You still have to cover Secret of the Mimic. You can't not cover Secret of the Mimic. Aren't you going to cover Secret of the Mimic?
No! Well, that was a really long video. If you've made it this far, congratulations and thank you for watching the video. It's 2 AM right now. This video marks a culmination of over 4 years of effort, and I really hope it showed in the final product. There were obviously things I would have liked to add in the video, but unfortunately I ran out of time. However, I'll be working on combining this video with the previous part and remastering a lot of the bits for a 6-hour deluxe edition that will be made in due course. This year's been pretty turbulent between finally moving, getting hit with a lot of debt suddenly, personal life stuff. Things have been hectic, but I wanted to make sure this video was the best possible video I could make, seeing as you guys have been waiting for so long. Thank you for supporting my videos, whether it be through watching them, joining my streams, buying merch, joining my Patreon, or just telling your friends about the vids. I will have much more to say in the future, and this isn't the last you've seen of me, but after this much of a hellish production year, I think I should work on easier stuff from here on out. Anyways, I'm rambling now. Thank you for watching, subscribe for more, buy the merch if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys very soon. Oh, and subscribe to the second channel.